各位亲爱的网友朋友，大家好。
Hello
今
everyone.
天呢，我们还回到一个，其实我上一次就讲过的一个感觉哈。
Last week we talked about our
所以今
feelings,
天我给大家提的讲的这个题目叫你快乐吗？
and today the topic is Are you
我不是
happy?
说了吗？我就是偶尔有的时候，其实我小时候这个事情比较严重。
Sometimes I have such feelings, especially when I was
所
young.
以有一种莫
This
名
type
的
feelings
一
is
种
quite
忧伤的感
intense.
觉。两位小朋友，你们有没有
And the feelings is
莫名忧伤的
not so
感觉？
happy or there's a sense of sadness. Do you have the
也有
feeling?
了哈。
Yes.
说那看样子这个情况不光我一个人。
So it means that I'm not the only one that experience it.
对，但是我们说的这个感觉，其实我感觉
So the
好像
feelings that we
并不
talk
是一种
about
忧郁症，就好像人有时候莫名
It
其
is
妙
like
地就
suddenly
有了这样
a
的感
person
觉
has
哈。
such
但是我想
strange
深层
feelings.
次的这一次来解剖一下这种
So I
感
want to
觉
take
哈。
this opportunity to try to
所以呢，我们
analyze it
会
in
提前
greater
做了很
detail.
多内容的准备。
So we have prepared a lot of
那
content.
我在聊这个内容，当初的时候呢，我先给大家呀读一封网友的来信哈，他是这样写的，其实我很喜
When we
欢
talk
他的
about
这个
this,
描述的这种感觉。他说我叫芳芳，
someone shared this.
当您
I'm
说
Fang Fang.
你有没有那种
When you
忧
ask
伤的感觉
whether
时，
you have such feelings,
我的心
my
瞬
heart
间就好
is
像被
suddenly like
电击
struck
的
by
感觉，
lightnings.
颤抖了一下。师傅啊，
At the
那一
moment,
刻我知道
I know
我
that
和您
you
的
know
心灵
deep
相
in my
通了。
heart.
师傅是
Master,
师傅，您是世界上最
you
懂
know
我的人。
me best in the world.
我和任何一个人提到这种
When
感
I
觉，
try to
大家都
explain
觉
this to
得
others,
我就是太清闲了。
everyone felt that
把我给清闲
I'm
给
too
憋的
free
哈。
to feel that.
我今年40岁，
I'm
我
40 this year,
讲这么多年，
and
我
I
印
want to
象
talk
最深
about
刻的
so
几
many
次
years there's
莫
these feelings
名
that affected
伤
me.
感的情形。在我小时候
When I
啊
was young,
都是住的是
I
平
live in a
房，现
house,
在都是高楼吧哈。这有一天周末的
and
中
on one
午啊，
weekend's
大家都
afternoon,
在午休
when
午
everyone
睡，
is taking a
街道
nap
上特别安
and
静，
taking a rest,
天
the
是
street
湛
is
蓝
very
湛蓝的，
quiet, the sky
偶
is
尔
very
也
clear
有几
blue,
只小鸟飞过。
and once in a while you can spot a few
可是
birds
就我
flying.
突然莫名其妙的
And
站在
suddenly,
路边
I
哈，
just stand
仰
on the
望着
side
那
of the
个高
road
高的天
and
空
I look
天
at the
是那样的
sky.
高，那么
The
的蓝，
sky is
又
so
那么的
high
广阔。
and it's so blue.
可是那一刻，
But at the
对于
moment,
我那个小
to
小的
me,
心灵来说，
deep
就
in
是
my
那么
heart,
伤
I
感，
felt a sense of
说不
sadness.
出来的伤
It's
感。
something
那
that I
种感
can't explain.
觉得世界天
I
地
feel
离
that
我
the
那么近，
world is
离
so
我那么
close
遥远。
yet so far.
而在这之前，
Actually, prior
我
to
并没
this,
有任何
I have nothing
不
that
开
make
心
me
的事情，
unhappy.
就是那样的
And
伤
it's
感，
just some
甚至
sense of
还
sadness,
流了眼泪。
and I even start to tears.
还有我读高
And
中时，
also when I was
有
studying
一
for
次
my
晚自习放
pre-universities,
学，就
and
突
one
然没
night
有
after I
任何
self-studied
缘由
and I
的
go
开
back
始
home,
叹气，
for
其
no
实我也
rhyme
有
or
这种感
reasons,
觉哈。
I start to sigh.
他们说这就多愁善感，
Some may say that this
就开
person
始
is
伤
very
感，
emotional.
觉得活
I
得没有
start to
乐
feel
趣，
this sense of sadness and feel
似
that
乎
life
发
lacks
生任何好
any
事
interest.
都不能激起
I
我的
lose
那
the
种
interest
兴
in
奋感，
life.
那种快乐感。
Nothing can
可是我就是失
excite
落，
me,
我用极慢的步
and
伐
my
叹着
steps
气
home was heavy
走在回家的
and
路上。
long.
真是挺无聊的。在后来长大工作
And
后，
when I grew up,
有一个
I started
秋
to
高
work,
气爽的午后，
and
我
in
去
one
公
of
园
the
散步，
afternoon, during
天
autumn,
是那样
I
的高，
went to the
又
park
那样
for a
的蓝，
walk.
阳光是那样的
The
明媚，
sky is
树叶
indeed that
呈现
high
美
and
丽
the
的
sky
色
is
彩
still
哈，
blue.
阳
The
光
sunlight
透过
shines
树
so
叶洒向路
brightly.
面，微风
The
拂面，
leaves
场景
present various
别提多
colors,
美好了。
and the
可是越
sunlight
是
ray,
美
the
好
sun
越
rays shine
阳
upon
光
the
的
road.
场景，我
Actually,
偏
there's
偏就
also a
突
light
然
breeze
间心情低落
flowing,
了下
and
来，
this view is
低落
actually
到想
supposed to be a
哭，
very beautiful
我都不
scene.
明白这是怎么回事。
But
那么美好的场景，我为什么
the
想
sun
哭？
is so bright and so
心里
beautiful,
头空空的呀。
but I still feel this sense of
再后
emptiness,
来，
so empty that I
慢慢
want to
的
cry.
忧郁、焦虑的情绪
Subsequently, I start to
越来越
have
频繁
signs of depressions,
稍有不如意，
and
就
anything
想到
that
自
make me
杀。
unhappy, I want to commit suicide. Although the weather may be good, I still have this sense of sadness. I don't understand why, when the sun is bright, I feel a deeper sense of sadness. I'm just like Lin Daiyu. This is an ancient Chinese novel, one of the female character, who suffered deep depression. And that is the letter from Fang Fang. When I read her letter, I also can sense her feelings. When Fang Fang sees the sunlight and it's beautiful, the more beautiful it is, the sadness is more intense in her heart. And she's different from me. When I see other people crying, I want to cry as well.
说的有点意境的哈，我还是有意境的，我从小就有意境。我到了半夜看着那个月亮和星
Actually, for me at night, when I look at the moon, when I look at the
还是地
stars,
球上水太多了，还是自己喝水太多
I'm
了？
not sure why.
喝水太多，我是仰面躺着的，是不是啊？水往下走啊，哎，可是从眼泪里冒。
I'm not sure
好
why
从
I
眼睛
start
里
to
冒出来
tears. I'm not sure if it's because I drink too
说
much
这么多
water.
就是说，我还有2位年轻小朋友哈，还有刚才这位网友芳芳呢，
I think
哎
myself,
都有过
the
这种
two
感
young
觉。
friends here,
哎，
and
我
Fang
想
Fang
请2位
always have
年
these
轻朋
feelings.
友哈，
So
我知道你
maybe
们的这个
I'm
对
not
科
sure
学
what
的
is
这种
your
了
understanding,
解
the
哈，
scientific
对于
understanding
这
of
种
this matter.
人的
If you
情
can
绪的
share
这种
with
了解
us
和分析啊，你
to
们
help
2位
us to
还是有自
analyze,
己
to
非
help us
常独
understand
到的
better.
见地哈。我欢迎你们呢给我们的
So I
热心
hope
的
that
网
you
友
can
哈
share
来
with
分
us your
享一
point
下
of
你们
view
的认识，好吗？
so that we have a better understanding.
今天我和香可师姐就是稍微对这
Yes,
方面
Master.
做了一点点的
So
学习和
today
研究，
we have
然后
done
希
a
望
little bit
跟
more
网友
research
分
in
享一
this
下，
area,
看看能不能
and
从
I'd
中
like to
得
share
到
with
一
all
些对忧郁这个
so
情
that
绪的一些启
all
发。
can have a better
那首先
understanding
的话，
about
目前
depressions.
的科学还是认为这个忧伤、悲伤的情绪，它对应的生理部位就是大脑。所以我们
Actually,
从
based
这
on the
个神
contemporary
经科
scientific
学来
understandings
分
of
析。首
emotions,
先我们看
the
一下我们大脑
emotions
的一个
is
结
in
构，稍
relations
微
to
认识
our
一下大
brains,
脑的部
the
分。
three parts of our brains.
那大脑呢，可以大概
So
笼统分成
broadly,
3
there
个
are
区
three
域。我们
parts
从最下
of the
面红色
brains.
的这个部分开始，这个部分是我们的本能，
So if
还
you
有
look
生
at the
生
bottom
存
red
能力。
portion, it is
那
our
这个包括
survival
脑
brains.
干还有小脑这2个大脑的结构。这一部分主要是控制我们的
And
吃
this
饭
part
呐，还有
is the
睡觉啊，
reptilian
还有一
brain.
些本能反应。
It's
比如说有
responsible
坏
for
人来了，我们
involuntary
要保护
actions
家
like
人，就是
safety
这种冲动都是
and
这个
avoidance, survival
生
balance.
存和本能脑
So
去
it's a way
主导
of
的。而且这个脑也是最古老
controlling
的一
our
部分，
food
所以也
and
有科
desire.
学家称呼它爬行动物脑。
So that's why it's
那
also
随
known
着这
as
个生物的
reptilian
进化
brain.
呢，这个大脑也开始进化，那
As
就产生出了第2
as
部分，
humans
就是我们的
evolved,
情绪脑。这个
we
黄
also
色的
have
部分
this
在大脑的
emotional
中央
brain,
部。
and that
那
is the yellow
情绪脑
part,
主要就是管理我们的各种情绪啊，
and it's
包括我们的
responsible
一些
for
荷
all
尔蒙的
sensory
释放，
input
还
stations,
有呢，我们的
like
长期记忆
emotions
也都是储存在这个
and
黄色
also
的部
our
分。
memory
还有一种说法
and
就是
image
我们的情绪
visions.
脑跟我们的内心世界就是非常有关。这是我们很多情绪啊，还有
And it's linked to
一些后
our
来
inner
过去的
thoughts.
时候，我们都是在就是思考我们自己的人生，都是放在这个情绪
So
脑
when we
的部
think
分。
about our life, it is in
那
this
最后
part
也
of the
是就
brains.
是最近代进化出来的大脑一
And
部
the
分就是
latest
蓝色的
evolutions,
这个理
it
智
is
还有思考
the
脑。
blue part,
那这
which
个
is
部
the
分就是
thinking
主导我
brain.
们的思维啊、认
And
知
this
啊、
part
主观意
is
识、
responsible
语
for our
言、
thinking,
想象力、各
our
种这种
language,
高级的功能，包括
our
情绪的
analytical
管理，
thinking,
还有自
logical
我，就
thinking,
是自我管理的这些能力。
and is
因此
where
呢，科学家也称这
our
一部分
management
人
aspect.
类脑。就是科学家认为这个是我们跟其他的动物就是不
So
一样的
scientists
最
feels
重要的
that
一个区别，
this
就是我们的
differentiates
大脑里
us
面包含
from
这
other
个
animals
理智或者思考，
because it has a
可以
high
让我们
thinking
比如说
orders.
控制自己的一些本能啊，或者反应啊，或者
It is
情绪。
also a place that's responsible of our
上面啊，就是
response. Actually, people who are very sad, is it because there's a certain aspect that's very developed compared to others? Yes. The scientists also feel that there are some aspects. When they do some research, they do some CT scan on the brains. So it's like when you are in a normal state of mind, and they look at the brains and look at the image of the brains. There are some parts are more active than others. They will be able to calculate when you are in a calm state, which part of brain is more active. And based on the scientific research, and where you are still in the machines, they ask you to feel intense sadness, and they observe the change in the brain. What is it like? Just now you mentioned if there is some change, is it? So when we're sad, you find that the yellow components will be more. So that's why you cannot control your emotions, because it's very active in that area. And also when you are very sad, it is easy to develop insomnia, or when you suddenly break up from a relationship. And that's also because this part of the brain is too active. So it will affect the emotional brain is too active, and it will also affect our sleeping patterns. A lot of time when we have a lot of emotions, the scientists also find that the thinking part, it becomes much weaker. There's no activities. And not only we become more emotional, we have difficulties to control our own emotions, because it refuses to work. It doesn't want us to control our emotions. We can't think properly. We can't have logical thinking. When I was young, when I was sad, indeed, I feel that I lose my control over my emotions. The scientist also feels that. So if you look at the person who is sad, the sad person, there's no activity, it's very inactive. The thinking brain is very inactive. So you can see that sadness has a very different colors. If you look at the black lines, it represents the transmissions of the neurons of a various parts of the brains. When you are sad, it can't come to a stop. The sadness display decreased activity in the cortex. So the communications is kind of like stopped. Maybe you just look at your own emotions. So if you look at the picture diagrams, the thinking brain is very inactive. We also find that people who have depression, it is very difficult to communicate with them, because they are more inward looking towards their own emotions. Say, for example, what you see, what you hear. So when we are sad, you find that it kind of like you don't have that. You will not be able to accept exterior, whatever that comes from outside. The type of feelings. Some people have generally some more depressed by nature. We have observed that some people, the observations of emotions, people who have depressions, actually during the 2 live broadcasts, we did talk about some reasons for depressions because of lack of energy. These have all been scientifically proven. As you can see that during that state, you have less activities. So the scientists, when they observe people who are very tired and who have difficulties to sleep, they also did similar studies. And they find that people, this part of the brain, the emotional brain, override the thinking brains. And it's difficult for you to step out because you lose that ability to think properly. You lose your logical thinking. And that's why we become more focused on your own emotions, on your own sadness. And also there is another component, it is genetics. It's also one of the reasons. Say, for example, people who have depression, let's say it's about 50% at use because of heredity. The scientists have come to realize that depression is 50% hereditary. They also find that there is a portion of there's this emotional ability, how emotional a person is about 40 to 70% is hereditary. But at the same time, what it tells us is that depressions or sadness is not 100% hereditary, because there is also the other components. So where are they from? So there is a genetic factors. It just tells us that the genetic factors is not 100%. So maybe there are also some simulated by major events that can cause heredity. And usually there is some stimulus like environment, and that's why prompted to happen. Say, for example, during rest day, they are always home, and from my experiences, that why is it that I feel more sad because I start to think about life, and actually every time before we sleep, our body will have this sign of wanting us to fall asleep, so that it tells us that we need to sleep. But melatonin, there is one thing. If there's no light, you will have more secretion. So if a person is always in a room and without sunlight, then the person will have this sense of sadness.
情绪。
是，然后有时候呢，有一些国家好像一些北欧的
Sometimes
国家嘛，
in
它
some
就是
countries,
长期都
like
处
the
于在一
Nordic
个
regions,
冬季的一种
because
情
they are
况下。
always
然后
in
冬
the
季的
winter
时候呢，
seasons
他们的
or
白天
during
就是
the
会比夜
there's
晚的
very
多
short
很多。
daylights.
像有一些国家，像那个冰岛，它每逢到冬季
Because
12
they
月的
have
时候，它
lack
就是
of
最长的一个白
sunlight.
天的时间，就5个小时。
They
那
only
其
have
余的
about 5
18 19
hours
个
of
小时
daylight.
都在黑暗里。
And the
所
rest
以
of the
呢，他
day
们
is
这些
always
国家
in
有一些
darkness.
人呢，他们会产生这种情况叫冬季忧郁。
So that's
它有
why
个词还
the
叫
people
季
there
节
have
性
this
情
seasonal
感障碍。
affective disorder,
对，英文
SAD.
叫 seasonal affective disorder， 然后简称 SAD。
SAD.
这个
This is a type of depressions that typically occurs during cold
它
winter
确实
months.
就是因为就是我们身体本身就是那个分泌的那些褪黑素。
That's
就
because
是
when
让
the
我们
night is
感觉
longer,
就是有
it
这
leads
种
to hypersecretions of
因为到了比如说
melatonin, producing
24小时
drowsiness
之中19小时
and
都是
negative
黑暗
mood.
就会分泌很多褪黑素，就是
So
让
there'll
你
be
很
more
困
of
很累
these
的那种感觉。
hypersecretions.
然后因此人家就会忧郁了。
And that's why
但相
they
反
will
来
start to
说，
have
就是科
depressions.
学家也发现，就是一个人呢，如果一天
The
他能够
scientists
晒到
also
30 分
find
钟的
that
太阳，
conversely,
那就是会
if
帮
a
助
person is
很大幅度
exposed
地
to
帮助
30 minutes
我
of
们的
sunlight a
啊
day,
就是从生理
it
上
can
它产生的这
significantly
种
improve
对
a
因为
person's
其实
mood
太
and
阳呢，就是
perceptions.
晒太阳能够让我们身体、我们大脑分泌这个物质叫多巴胺。我们一会儿再深入聊聊这个。
So there's this saying that the sunlight can help
那晒太阳
to help us to secrete more of
运
dopamine.
动啊、禅修啊、吃东西啊，
And
好像都
even
可以
meditations
多巴胺
and
是
even
让我
food
快
can
乐的
help
事情
us.
就是有
to
特
have
别多
that.
研究发现，就是禅修啊，对于大脑的这个
And
帮
there's a
助。
lot of
就是
research
第一，像我们
that
刚刚
find
说的
that
那个三种
meditations
那个脑结构嘛，
has
它会
positive
让我们的
impacts
思维
on
脑
our
变得
brains.
更加发达，
It
然后
will
情
help
绪
to
脑就变得
develop
更
our
小，就不那
brain
么敏感啊，就是对情绪也就不会，就让
and
我们
our
的思维脑
emotional
能够好
brain
地
will
把控我们
shrink
的情绪。
while our
那第
thinking
二呢，
brain
就
will
是禅修也能
expand.
够帮忙，就是增进多巴胺的分泌，所以我们禅修后就会产生愉悦的感觉。
又愉悦又平静。
So there are more secretions
然后，
of
上一你有没有发现，
there's
有
more
时候
secretions
在生
of
活中啊，你看到一个人打哈欠，你自己也会有那个
dopamine
想打哈欠的感觉。
对对对，
and
英文都
that's
会
why we
说它
have
是
this
有传染
sense
性的
of
这个哈欠。
happiness and peace
然后
when
还
we
有包括
meditate.
你在一个环境，大家都在笑，可能你没听清楚刚刚那个人讲什么，但大家笑，你就你也跟着。
So say if say you're in an environment, everybody share a joke and they laugh. Although you're not exactly sure why is it that they laugh, but you see that everyone is laughing, you join in
我今天
and
还
it
觉
will
得就
affect
是
your
照镜
mood.
子照了好几次，然后看大家穿了，都觉得特别好看，
是
师傅
是
设计的。
Like today, I'm wearing these T-shirts. I see that everybody find that this T-shirt is really nice, and I wear it, and I look at myself in the mirror a few times, and I find that this design is really good, and it's designed by master.
当时说纪念一个达到1000万这个概念
I think
我
when
们
we
现在
design
就是说
this
约制的
is
发展而是
to
淡化这个订阅哈。
It's
太多了
actually
之后
because
我
we
整个
reach a
不好
certain
再来
level
那么
of
多人哈。
subscriptions
当
of
时
our
想做这么一
YouTube.
个纪念衫儿哈，
So it
但
is
是你们俩这个为什么说到这儿来着？
就是穿着最有愉悦的感觉，
为什么呀
看？到
觉得
看到
美吗？
别人
没有特别美
产，生愉
啊
对，
就是你是
10
照着镜
millions,
子觉得自己
you
美
reach
哈。
10
然后
其实
millions
我们是互相互相欣赏这个美，
of
这是
subscriptions.
我也很喜欢。
是。
这是说在我设计中也是一个
subscribers, so that's
觉得
why we
非常美
designed
的
this.
一个衫儿哈。
I think it looks quite good on most of
但
you.
是不能广告哈，应该已经都
I don't think we should advertise, but I think some size already out of
我
stock.
们的定量是很少的这个。
That's because we didn't produce many.
下一个好看的
So maybe we wait for
等我们
masters
到
to design
3000
the
万的
next
时候我们
one.
再制作一个哈。
好
感恩师傅
会和现在又有区别哈。你们两个讲的真的挺好的，来继续。
So
我都
please
听入
continue.
迷
It's
了
not bad what you just shared.
刚就是讲到这个视觉带给你的传染。
So we talk about how visions can affect our mood as well.
就是我们大脑有一种神经元叫镜像神经元，它就是英文叫 mirror neuron，
镜子
呀，镜子。就是我们看到的那个环境，比方说我看到一个人
So there is this mirror neurons, and say for example, you suddenly listen to a sad song, it will affect you. The scientific reason is because we are all human beings as social animals. We need to adapt to the environment. So the external environment will impact us and impact our emotions. So this is a way for us to adapt to the society as a human beings. Does it mean that if we see a lot of sadness or sad matters, we will have depression? Well, I think we will have this sense of it will affect our emotions negatively, but whether will it lead to depression, we are not exactly sure. For example, if I have a lot of pressure, and if I sit very upright, so it is a way of reminding myself. So because of my sitting posture that's very upright, it's easier for me to be happy. And if, say, I feel a lot of pressure and I hunch my back, it will also show more negative emotions. And also I may have some use words related to sadness. So the environment, the people that we interact with, the posture can all affect our emotion aspect. So actually, if we think of it from a different perspective about how we interact with the social community, it may not be a bad thing. But in the process, in the thought process, a lot of our natural manifestations, emotion, it is actually good for us to ensure that human race can continue to survive. So actually, if we think about it, actually emotion has some positive aspect as well. It's there to help us. So in the Darwinian evolution's concept of human adaptive functions, emotions are for our survival. So it is a way to motivate us to push forward. It is a way to help us to adapt to our environment. It is part of our evolution. So it is actually an ability for us. So it is not a form of weakness. So sometimes because of certain things make us angry, but because of this anger, it let us fill us with energy and want us to protect ourselves and our family. But during loss or during grief, say for example, you can't find the things back, so you feel sense of sadness or grief, maybe the body is telling you that you don't need to take any actions. You just have to let it go and stop wasting energy. Say for example, something dropped into the sea. So from the mind to our body, it is about letting go, it's about giving up, because our thinking brains will stop working. Because maybe even our emotional brains will tell us not to wake up. You don't have to go to work, you lose motivation to do anything. you lose interest.
它就是我们的身体在告诉
It is a way of our body telling us that we have to let go. You should not continue to fight for this goal. So when we are happy in this Darwinian evolution concept of the human adaptive functions, it is a way of telling us that we look for these feelings the next time, so we want to achieve the goal. So we also talk about the secretions of dopamine. It is a dopamine is something that is a neuron transmitter. There is this brain's reward mechanism about feeling good. Actually, the brain's reward mechanism is the same. When we have a goal, feeling good after doing something, we want to go for it. Since dopamine will give us a sense of happiness, and it gives us the directions to go for it, so that we can achieve the final goal. But sometimes, for myself, I also have these feelings. For example, for 4 years of university studies is to get a degree. Every time going through the examinations, we do well. And every time we do well in the studies, the dopamine go up better, and I want to work hard for the next exams. I want to get better. So eventually, when I get my degree, suddenly when I get it, I have already fulfilled my life goal. And suddenly I feel very empty. There's this sense of emptiness. Is that something that we can explain scientifically? So like what you say that you wanted to have a goal and you want to get better to achieve your goal. So that's why your dopamine has a hyper secretions of that, so that you will work hard to get better results. But every time when you get it, there will be more secretions of it. You feel good. So when your final goal is achieved, so in the brain you will have certain hyper secretions of dopamine. So you have all sorts of emotions that comes with it. But after that, you have suddenly feel this sense of emptiness. So this is how the dopamine works in our brain. There is this cycle, there's this curve. So you can look at there's this baseline. So normally, when you pursue, our brain has a certain up and down of dopamine curve. So if you're below a certain, you will be in depression. So when we pursue it, there's a slight raise. And then when we win the prize, it's a great up. But because you need to you still have to maintain a baseline. So as a result, you have this crash of the dopamine. So the reason is because there's a drop, because at the price at the win, you will have hyper secretions, and as a result, what is stored has a deficit. Because when it releases excessive dopamine, it will suddenly go to a deficit. So it goes up and down, and then you return to the baseline. So after deficits, it was because the brain will continue to secrete dopamine, and then it will start to build up to the level of baseline.
反而越快乐的时候，之后就是越悲伤、越落空。
So that's why after
了解
happiness,
了
extreme
这个
happiness,
科学哦，还有
you
社
have a
会了解了
deficit
这
of
个科学，
dopamine,
那
you may
那个怎么
have
办
a
呢？还是
sense
忧
of
郁，就是该忧郁的时候。
就是这个是我们对科学对忧郁的一个认识。
So this is how we understand about depressions from a
还
scientific
是
point of
很
view.
难受、很讨厌。
哦，
对。那我们讲的这个部分哈，其实是想让朋友们呢，就对于这个
Actually, this
我们所
part
谓
that
的
we talk
情
about,
绪、心情，
we
所谓
talk
快乐
about
感或者烦恼的
emotions.
这种情绪，就是有一个更深
we
入的
have
一
a
个了
better
解。
understanding of
啊，
our
听这个两
emotions.
位小朋友介绍完之后呢，我相信大家和我一样哈，就对于我们这个脑结
After
构，
you hear the
还有它这个脑的
explanations,
几个层面所
you
负
have
责
a
的
better
这个工作
understanding
内
the
容。
three aspects of our
啊，
brains
这个要不要
and how
复习
it
一下啊？
interact. Do we
这个
want
大
to
脑
have
的
a
工作内容。
revisions?
那个
The
蓝色的
content,
是在外
there is
层最
this
大的这
blue
个包裹层
components,
呢，
which is the
通
thinking
常是
brain,
干嘛的
which is
呢？
at the
比如说理
outer
智的、
side.
思
It
考
manages the
的，
thinking
好像
part
是
of
比较
our
工
brain.
作型的这个部分
So it's
啊，
the
比较
working part
综
of the
合
brains.
工作型的、把控工作型
It
的，所以
controls
也就
our
是对
work.
面积最大的这个部分。
That's the
那么
biggest
这个
components. That's the thinking brain.
靠中间一点这个黄色的部
And
分呢，
in the middle
也称为
middle
叫情
side,
绪脑
the
哈。
yellow part
哎，
is
它
the
主要是
emotional
来
brains.
表达和储存情绪的。
And it's
如果
responsible
我
for
在
all
发现刚才
sensory
说的有个
input
规律哈，
stations,
就是你们讲的是
like
有
our
个规律。
emotions.
当如果这个蓝色的
memories
这个大的层面，就
So
是理性
when
工作层
the
面，
blue
如果
part,
它一旦
which is
它
the
的能量
working
变
part of the
弱，
brain,
或者是
when
它
it weakens
不运动、不工作
or
的时
it
候，
refuses to
那么
work,
这个黄色的情绪
and
脑
the
就
yellow
会跳出
parts,
来工作，
the
就它就
emotional
越
part
狂烈，
of the
对不
brain
对？
start to work.
它狂烈的时候呢，
When it's too
我们会有
hyperactive,
什么表现呢？
what
就
happens?
忧郁就越多，
You find
你
that
的
you will
情绪
have
就变得
more
不好了，
negative
总想坏事
emotions.
是吧？哎，所以
And
我们
that's
发
not
现
good.
这个一个小秘密
We
哈。
find this
所以呢，
secret.
还讲到你像北欧地区
We also
啊，
talk
还
about the
有
Nordic
中国特别
regions,
北方的地区，
people
包括
who
俄罗
live
斯哈，
in
它到
the
冬
north,
天的这个
because they have the
白
long
天的时间
winter.
特别短，就几个
They
小
have
时，
very short
和夜晚呢
daylights.
就十几个小时。那我相信
They
大家
have
比
this
较
winter
容易
blues.
产生的，比如说忧郁、
And I
焦
think
虑这
it's
种
very
问
easy
题，
for them to
因为你
develop
看到的就是
depressions.
漫天黑夜。
Because every
所以
time
刚才我听
you
两位小朋友讲的，就是说
see， there's a lot of
当在
darkness.
一般夜晚比较多的时候，它容易产生一种叫褪黑素，是吧？大脑之中。
And we talk
和多巴
about
胺
when
正
the
好
night
是
is
相反的。
longer, it leads
哎，
to
你有这个褪黑素呢，
hypersecretions
就
of
容易说瞌睡、
melatonin,
没精神、睡眠、
and
没
it
想
causes
事，
drowsiness
你的
and
身体呢
negative
处于
moods.
叫做休息状态。
So your
休息状态
brain,
的
you
时候
can't
就
like
不可
shut
能有
down
一
your
种
body
叫快
in
乐
a
因子
resting
产生，对不对？
phase.
因为你一快乐就活跃了嘛，对不对？那所以因为不活跃才可能睡眠。
So
就是
because
我们
of
失眠的时
inactive,
候呢，就褪黑
you
素
may
这个
start
时
to
候在你
have
大脑之中没有产
insomnia.
生，可是还有，比如说外界刺激，还有一件事物的刺激等等的哈，包括看一个鬼片之类的
So
刺
say
激之
for
后，
example, you have
使
some
你的这个褪黑素
external
减少
factors.
了。可是呢，恐惧和多巴胺，这个多巴胺它不一定是喜悦多巴胺，是不是啊？
So
和兴奋多巴胺产生
Dopamine
的，
has
这
also
样让
the
我们就失
hypoactive
眠，睡不好
dopamine,
觉，
which is
对不对？
it may cause
但
you
是
to
人
have
体呢，它是个一定有个
insomnia.
阴阳平衡的
So
部
for
分。
our body,
就
we
总
definitely
睡
need
觉
to
太
have a
多
good
会变成怎么
balance
样
of
呢？
the yin
忧
and the
郁多。
yang.
但是你睡觉太少的时
So
候
if
呢，
you sleep too
一直
little,
处于兴奋状态呢，
you're
其实人
always
也
in a
容易
state
老
of
化，
ecstasy.
也可以
That's
这么
not
说
good.
哈。所以医生经常嘱咐，哎，少熬夜，不要熬
And
夜，
that's why
对
the
不对？
doctors always advise
所以
us
这样的道理，我们通过这样的一
to
个
sleep
一个
early.
西方科学认为的这种
So
概念
based
呢，
on the
我们
Western
对于这
scientific
种情
studies
绪
and
哈，
research
这种
about
事物，对我们
emotions,
的大脑本身也产生了一个更深的
we
认
have
识。
a deeper understanding of our
物理，
brains.
我知道你今天带来很精彩的故事哈。
I know, Uli, you have good
那
stories to
是不是
share
先
to
给
us
大家
today?
讲一讲，还有昆提，
Kunti, you
哪
have
个
stories to
很吸
share
引
with
我的
us?
故事？
是，其
哎，大
实
家听一听。
师傅一上来
Yes,
就读了芳芳的一
Master.
封来信，其实也让我们了解到，在网友当中，
Actually,
哎，说到芳芳那个，我准备小礼物，我忘了
I
讲
have
了
one
啊
to
啊
prize.
先
We
这
talk
是
about
给
Fang Fang. I have a
网友
prize
芳
for
芳的
Fang
啊
Fang.
小礼物，你看多
Look
可
at
爱
this.
的，你看看
This is a prize for Fang
小
Fang.
金碗呐，来
This is
敲
a
一下哈。
small golden bowl.
哦，这 真好听是吧？
沁人心脾。
哎，这是给芳芳。
This is for Fang
小朋友
Fang.
吧哈，网友哈，送你这个礼物哈。
This is a present for you.
哈，
Wishing you happiness.
是，
We have received a lot of interesting stories from our internet friends. Let's share with all our friends. We have someone from Singapore, Xiao Zhu. Hello, Master. I'm from Singapore. When I saw Master post, "Are you happy?" I thought about it again and again. My heart is sour and have lots of feelings. I live in Singapore. I have no worries about food and clothing. I have the opportunity to go to universities and have a stable job. I live and work in Singapore in peace and contentment and have 3 lovely daughters. My husband and my parents are alive and the family live in harmony. However, I become unhappy in recent years. It should be from 2017, and due to the work needs, the office was moved from the city area to the west of Singapore. So for me, the change of work location has changed my journey to work from 45 minutes to 1.5 hours. So it takes about 3 hours to go back and forth and making the commuting very hard. Finally, I had the opportunity to guide and train newcomers. I also got along better with a few newcomers. But despite my effort to build better relationship at work, I feel that my relationship with my co-workers are still drifting apart. In fact, there is a colleague, Miss A, in the company. She's very good at pleasing people and has good connections. She's very good with the boss, she talks well, and often buy breakfast for newcomers and eat with them. And these newcomers join her group. But Miss A never invited me. I didn't care about this kind of grouping in the workplace before, but it happens in 2019 and it hit me hard. I became very unhappy. I remember that year, I was always sad, and I even wept secretly in the office. My mood became very bad. I cried easily, and I suspect I was suffering from depression, so I went to see a doctor. When the doctor diagnosed me and gave me medicine, I decided that I want to get better and strengthen my heart. I began to listen to Master's lectures and listen continuously to give myself more positive energy. After that, when the pandemic came in 2020, I worked from home. Without going to the office, the stress of my work relationships fade away. In 2021, my work responsibility has changed, and I need to take on new responsibilities from the front line to middle management. There are more things for me to learn and do. So when encountering unpleasant situations, I have no one to speak to, so I can only keep it to myself. I became very unhappy. I didn't want to interact with people. Anyway, if I say it, it won't change anything. Others will think that I'm speaking ill of them. So I choose to remain silent and only speak when my work requires to. I'm very careful at every step, and I will not easily trust people. I'm exhausted in this middle management role. I will always be unhappy intermittently. I work just to make ends meet without the enthusiasm I used to have. I don't have trust and good confidence in the workplace, and I feel very tired. Master, I have a few questions I'd like to ask you. Is Miss A related to me in my previous life? What I'm going through now, is it because of what I caused her hurt in the past? I have also lit lamp for her. What else can I do? I listened to Master's teaching, saying that our genes may be imprinted with a kind of depression genes. I wonder, did my grandparents suffer from depression? Is what I'm going through because I'm not grateful enough? Thirdly, I think mental health is very important. From my experience, I feel that one can overcome this disease. However, when unhappy memories float into our memory again, we have to remind ourselves to overcome it again and give ourselves positive energy. Now we know masters, we know how to help ourselves. What about those who don't know about master? How can they help themselves? This is my view on the topic given by master. May master guide me. So this is Xiao Zhu from Singapore. She is someone that works in the office, and her depression is caused by the work stress. I think, in summary, first because the office moved, so now she spent a longer time to commute to work. I think she has a sense of tiredness, and that's because her commute is double from before. But something that makes her more tired is because of the relationships that she has with her co-worker. She is quite a capable person, and there are also newcomers that join her. She wants to have good relationship with her co-worker, especially the newcomers. But there's another colleague at work, Miss A. Yes, and this Miss A is very good at interpersonal skills and build good relationships with the colleagues. Like she buys breakfast for the rest, and she has good relationship with the boss. And they somehow form cliques. And for her, she's being excluded from the cliques. And that's why she felt that she has been isolated in the office, and that's affected her emotion negatively. And I think the situation could be quite serious, and she even went to see the doctor. So she became sick because of that. Actually, the colleagues didn't actually harm her. Miss A didn't harm her. If I say more, I will also affect her. I do not dare to say. But Master, she already wrote a letter to you. And I think she really wants Master to help her. But she never paid me money. Why should I advise her then? She is quite cute because she even tried to analyze her situations. And she said, is it because of her past relationship with her in previous life? No, there's nothing to do with previous life. A lot of time when I receive letters, they find that, especially for girls, if there's someone that are new and beautiful, and suddenly they find that they cannot deal with it. Because especially people who are older, the ladies who are older at work, the co-workers, if the co-workers is very young and beautiful, they feel very intimidated by this new co-worker. Is young and beautiful and capable. And later she finds that this new colleagues interacted well with others. I think the question is it a problem with this Miss A or is it a problem with Xiao Zhu? I feel, is it a form of envy? That's the troubles that stem from your own emotions. Because she feels that the other person, the Miss A, is very capable, can talk well, and has good relationship with the boss and the co-worker. So she feels that she actually has a sense of jealousy and felt that Miss A could be a rival. So I think there's some form of competitions between her and Miss A. And that's why she feels uncomfortable and uneasy.
潜台词就是说还有长相问题。
And also there's also the other components that is
长得
look.
是不是比我好看？
Maybe she's more beautiful.
因为女士我觉得在乎美，世界更多了很多美，对不对？尤其是女士，那你自己觉得一个是年龄大一些哈，第二个如果我们的容貌不如贾小姐，
So
这
if you
我
don't
估
look
计
as
这
good
是很
as
伤害的
Miss
事儿，对不
Miss
对？
A,
但是容
Do you
貌
feel
和
that way?
智慧不一样，对不对？智慧可以学来，从无知到有智慧，这是可以改变的。相貌，就做半天手术几乎都没什么用。最多的，咱听说中国一个演员哈，大腮帮子曾锯了好几次，是吧？像鞋垫儿似的，特别瘦，是吧？他现在想长也长不回来了。就你的大腮帮子可以锯，但是你整体的相貌没什么改变的。
so your look there's
对不对？
nothing change
所以
actually.
相貌不是通过学习可以改变的，
Because look
对不
is
对？
not something
只有
that
智慧
can
是可以
change
改
if you
变的。
learned. No,
哎，
doesn't
所以
work
我
that
觉得
way.
呢，我们这位网友叫啥来着？
小猪，
小猪哈，小猪，我觉得有点，我，反正我说话容易伤害人哈，我觉得有时候我们，也在发现对方的，就是高明之处，长处、优点，对不对？但只是说，小猪少了一点在发现自己的优点。
So I find that
如果你觉得自己觉得
小猪 need
心
to
里不快
find her
乐
own
是因为你觉得那个
positive
贾小姐造成的，
attributes
对不对？但你有没有发现，你身上所具备的优点是贾小姐所没有的？
do you find that you have your own plus point
但是
that
如果没
Miss
有
A
的
don't
话，
have?
说我确实我怎么比？说我的智慧也
If you
好，
find that
我的沟
in
通能力
terms
也
of
好，
your
我的
in
外
your
向
way
相貌
you
也好，
communicate
都不
with
如她。
others, your
我觉得
look,
还是可以通过，
your
比如说工作经验
capabilities, are this
和
something
知
that
识是
through
可
your
以
work
让自己
you
有一个
can
一技之长嘛，
make
对
you
不对？比如
better
说我
or
智慧比较
improve
多
in certain
对不
aspects?
对？那个贾小姐只是说年轻漂亮
And
而已，
if
对不
Miss
对？
A is just
哎，谁没
beautiful
年
and
轻过呀？
young,
哎，
everyone will be
我
have
年轻可能比你
will
也不
be
差，说心里头有一种自我安慰感
so
就
you
可以
must have this sense of
所以有的时
self-comforting.
候我们的对比哈，对比的是拿自己的弱
When
点
we
去
compare,
比对方的优势，比对方的
we
优
don't
点，
compare our
这是一个非
weakness
常不划
against
算
the
的
other
事情，
person's strength.
就容易
No,
让自己有烦恼。
because if you compare that
举
way,
一个不恰当的
it
例
will
子哈，
make yourself
这个猪
to
懂
have
生
this
猴子的
negative
气体。那《西游
emotions.
记》中不是猪和猴之间
还真的。
瓜葛最多吗？
If you look
对不
at the
对？
journey to the
猪八
west,
戒总
the
嫉妒孙悟空，是不是啊？
Sun Wukong and
说
Zhu
你忽悠一
Bajie,
下就
they are
看
quite
跑了，是吧？
different.
哎，特别机灵，
They are
是吧？
jealous
一
of
个
one
跟头十
another.
万八千里。一个猴子
Actually,
呢，
Zhu Bajie is jealous
猴
about
子
Sun
躲
Wukong,
在一个
which
事
is
情
the
上就
monkey
斗一个
king.
猪，那这一猪还是野猪，挺厉害的。
But
它就
actually,
过
that
去
pig
拽
is quite
野猪
good
尾
too.
巴，野猪过来也是想咬它，它一下窜到树枝上去，就是意思说你来咬我呀。
So the
野
pig
猪
tried to
闹半天也
bite
够
the
不着
monkey,
它。
but the monkey
完
climbed
了之
to
后，
the
猴子
tree.
还不罢手，一会儿就揪猪耳朵，把那个野猪给
And
气的。
later, the
哎，
monkey
最后老
pulled
子
the
搬家，
pig's ears.
野猪最后搬家了，给气的哈。
So he's so
对，
angry.
你这个猪去嫉妒和羡慕
So for the
猴子的
pig
这个本
to
领
be
哈，
envious
是
of
没有必
the
要。
capability of
练死
monkey
你
is
猪
not
都赶不上猴子
necessary.
这个攀爬能力，对不对？
Because no matter
猪
how
永
hard
远
the pig
追不上
try,
猴子
the
的这
pig
个
will
运
not
行
be
速度
able
和
to
灵
climb
巧
the
的，
trees
这
as
没法练，这是
agile
天才，
as
对
the
不对？
monkey.
但是猪也有猪的特征
But
啊，
pig
是
has
不是
its
啊？
own
每一种动物有
positive
它自己的
points, its
优
own
势在那里，
positive
物竞
attributes.
天择嘛。
是，
能留下来的生物一定有自己的优势，
The
就要
reason
发现自己
why
的优势。
that they still survive till today, they have your
还
own
有
benefits and your
他
own
有很多
positive
优势的
attributes.
他的条件他自己说，人在新加坡有很美好
She
的家
mentioned
庭，
that
有孩
she's
子，
in
孩子
Singapore,
都乖巧
she
听话，
has
父母
3
双
lovely
全，家庭
kids,
和睦，
she has good
现在还做到了
families,
中层管理。
and
你
she's
去看
already
看
in
自己，
middle
应该
management.
是一个非常幸福的
So
一
if
个
you
小
look
女
at
孩
her, if you
啊，
look
就是
at
比起
that
贾小姐，我相
perspective,
信她拥有很
she
多
should
的。
she already
对，
own she has
就
a
但
lot
是呢，它
and she should feel
这
contented.
个进行对比的那个点呢
But
不对，
the
拿自己的
comparison
弱
point
点
is
比
not
对方的
right.
优点。
She is
啊，
taking her
还有一
weakness to
个哈，就
compete
是
or
当我
compare
们年龄
against
越来
Miss
越大
A
之后哈，就不
strength.
要从外向上
And
和快乐感上去和年轻人去做对比，
you do not
这是一个
compare
错误的对比。
your look with
知
a
道吗？
younger person.
这个对比
That
是等于叫
is wrong.
寻找痛苦
That
的
is
对比。
finding, that is just,
你
that's how
不管你有
comparison
没有
is
多大
that you
权
set
势，
yourself
今天
up
你哪怕是
for
女皇
troubles.
也好，
So what if today you are a queen and you are now 80 years old? You will look like an 80 years old. You cannot compare with an 18 years old young girl. If you're 80 years old and you compare with someone that's only 18 years old, you set yourself up for trouble. So to me, she's sick her own. Her worries is self-inflicted. Maybe I think Xiaozhu is envious of Miss A because of her good interpersonal relationship with the colleagues. But I think Xiaozhu is very good too because she's already in middle management. She must have received the recognitions of her boss in order to attain that level in the organizations. She should focus in this aspect. Focus on her strength and make it stronger, maybe to develop her managerial skills. And so that she will gain the respect of her fellow colleagues. So for her, she only picked a specific spot and compare and envious the other person. It doesn't matter what is the reason, but in a work environment, say there's someone that is an enemy or a competitor, then that is the source of our pain. You try not to compare because you have the thought. And because of the thought, you will have actions. It will manifest in your expressions, in your actions. And definitely you will have that feelings. So what could have happened is that it will lead to loss of both parties. So you want to manage your own mindset. You do not want to drift to that aspect. So Xiaozhu, you should try to focus to do well in your role. And you want to continue to gain recognitions from your boss. So the three questions that she asked, she said, first, is there something relationship between Miss A and Xiaozhu in the previous life? No, this is something that happens in this life. It's because of jealousy. And if this is anything to do with the ancestors, the grandparents, no, not necessary. You need to, if you want to know about your ancestors, whether they have suffered depression, you should ask your parents. Most important is our worldview. We need to expand our worldview. We don't want to be so narrow-minded and so envious of others. We try not to have these invisible enemies or invisible competitors. We try not to have such feelings towards family members or close kin. You just want to do well in your role, and you will have happiness. We talk about managerial positions. If you are in the office, when you are in the middle management role, once you have this imaginary competitors, when you have such feelings, let me ask you, do you think your actions will be a little bit swayed towards that? What's your view towards that person? Do you think it will be a little bit off? You will lack proper judgment. You will slowly be biased. And if you are a leader, if you're in a leadership positions, if your words is biased or unfair, after a few times, you will lose your integrity. You will lose your credibility among your colleagues. And that's why it's important for you to have a purity in your heart. And you need to have fairness. Actually, it is not the problem doesn't lie with Miss A. It is in your own emotions because you create an imaginary competitors, and that's her. So as a result, it causes you to have this nervousness. Once you have this sense, it will affect your actions. This is part of the 5 poisons. Jealousies. And because of greed, you have jealousy. Jealousy because Miss A is prettier, is younger, or more capable. And if you dwell this deeper, it will cause more worries and more troubles for you. And eventually, 2 of you may lose. There's no winner. There's a potential risk there that your boss may find out about it. You have forgotten. I just want to remind you that you've forgotten why you go there to work. I'm sure you didn't find a job because you have nothing to do. You need the salary to help to bring financial stability to your family. You've forgotten the main reason why you are still working. Your work, the purpose of the work is so that you can help to bring another income to the family. So I hope that you will maintain very clear of your goal. So age is not the problem. You need to change your perspective. You need to be more open-minded. And you'll be more attractive. Thank you, Master. So we have a present for Xiaozhu to encourage her. How about I gave her a yuanyang, which is the Mandarin duck, a pair of Mandarin duck. It is very auspicious. It will bring you a sense of happiness. So when you have this pair of Mandarin ducks, everything will be smooth sailing. Wishing you happiness, Xiaozhu. And Master, now we have another story to share. Thank you, Masters, for providing me with such a precious opportunities, allowing me to find a way out of the depressions and doubt that has buried in my heart for many years. I have a sense of sadness since childhood. And in fact, when I was young, I loved to sing and dance. I was lively and well-behaved. But I also have a very contradictory side of this. That is, I'm also very withdrawn and sad. I'm very puzzled about these contradictions, and I hope to get Master's instructions. As far as I can remember, I was sensible and well-behaved when I was a child. I didn't cause trouble to my parents, and I was easy to raise. But I can't stand my family's losing their temper with me. Every time I get angry, I feel very uncomfortable. I'm bored in my heart. I don't make any noise. And I don't want to talk. I quietly hide in a place where no one knows, and my heart feels very heavy. So when everyone is enjoying carefree teenage years, I lock myself up during this good period. I dare not show myself even if I have a good side. I dare not take initiative to communicate with others. And even later, I dare not meet strangers, and I dare not look into people's eyes. I feel very resistant and afraid. I was afraid of my teachers, and I suspect that every movement of the teachers' eyes was a disapproval of me. Later, I felt like, for the same mistake, the teachers was very strict with me. And for others, not so much. For a moment, I was very shocked at the time, and I felt even more inferior. But I didn't have the gut and courage to confront the teacher's injustice like other students, so I was depressed. When I got home and told my mother, I was afraid that my mother would confront the teachers and cause conflicts, and would find embarrassing. So I endured and advised my parents to keep quiet. So I often felt sad. I don't look happy. And sometimes I even look at Master's pictures. And I also wrote my doubts. I still remember that when I was graduating from junior high school, my mother shed tears when she saw what I wrote, saying that my thoughts was down at such a young age. My grandfather knew qi men dun jia and could tell fortunes. He said that I was destined to have such experience. I would have some troubles and sorrows that last for several years. In fact, no one did anything to me. As I grow older, I always feel that my journey through life has been filled with loneliness. Finally, when I entered universities, I tried to start a new university life. I tried to make friends, I studied hard, but the reality is still not as good as I expected. I feel that the roommates, classmates around me are completely different from me. I don't want to get involved or follow their interests and habits. What I liked and I'm interested in, others were scoffed and laugh at it. So I go around alone, although sometimes I pretend to be more sociable. At that time, I couldn't see what is the same impotence of the students around me. I want to break away from it bravely. I want to take a different path. So I took the courage to leave the country. And that's the first time that I leave the country to experience life in an overseas country, in a foreign country. And the place that I go, I was the only Chinese at the place I work. And the other colleagues, they have their own cliques. And my English and my work experience was not good enough, so it's difficult to convince the public. So I live alone in a relatively remote place. And day after day, I feel very lonely and feel very negative. I don't see any hope of life in front of me. So I managed to survive these 2 lonely years of working abroad. And with this experience, I get a high-paying job from a good company. So I went there. So when I go to the new company, I realize I'm the only Chinese in the foreign team. But this time, it's better than the last time. I was not as afraid as the last time, as I'm starting to get used to it. The relationships improved too. Although I now have a high-paying job, I still feel sad every day. I do not know where my life will go. I'm confused. In fact, these kind of jobs don't seem to be the meaningful life that I wanted. And I feel sad every day. In my work, I often face death, hear about the deeds of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and listen to lessons from masters. There's still a kind of sadness in my heart thinking about the meaning of life and lamenting the impermanence and insignificance of life. At this time, facing all the trivial matters in life, I feel so bored and uninteresting. Master, the above are the very sad situations I've experienced since I was a child. Hope to get Master's guidance. Thanks, Master. Xiao Yue. Why is it I've sensed that these persons feel lonely from a young age? She described her emotions. She hopes to get Master's advice. She feels that the life lacks meaning. It's not so easy to guide her, because I find that from young, she likes to be lonely. So first, In terms of her personality, she has a withdrawn personality.
她觉得在她之外的那些朋友们哈，
because she feels that
都是议论特别俗的
her friends are just very
我
ordinary
讨厌，
and she dislikes
看不
them
惯，不
she
像
don't
我
like
所
them
追求的高雅。
because
但
she
是我
feels that
追
the
求的高雅
friends
和
are
我
not
喜欢
as
那个事儿
noble
吧
as
别人也
her.
看不上。
对，这
哎，
不是一路人。
那总的来说就是和大众不是一路人。
So she's not
那这说明
like
她是个
an
奇才
ordinary person.
比较孤僻奇特的人，
So as a result,
是吧？
she's
从这
more of a
种
unique
个性和表
personality.
现上来说，这是她的文章告诉我们的。
And that's what you can
那
sense
还有
from
呢？
her
她
letter.
还算是挺优秀的。
But I think she's quite a capable person. In such a scenarios, she
因为
got
她读书并不是很笨，
she's not
对不对？
stupid. She did
她
well
还
in the
考上了
studies.
去国外读
And
书，
she managed to
就到
go
国外工
overseas to
作。
study. She
她
managed
说
to
我
go
又踏上了一个
overseas
人
to
的旅
work.
行，是吧？
And
一个
she
人读书
worked
一个人留
overseas
学
alone.
还一个人挑战群雄。
And she managed
朋
to
友，这不都是你自
face
己找
life
的？
alone. Wow, she must be a very capable person.
偏向喜欢这样一个
她喜欢
人的感觉
孤独，喜欢一个人睡觉，喜欢一个人旅
I
行，
think she
喜欢
enjoyed
一
to
个
be
人
a
发
loner.
呆，甚
She
至喜欢
enjoyed
一个
to
人
be
挑
alone.
战，对不对？其实这正是她自己所追求的一种感觉啊。
But that's her own
所以
pursuit.
有很多朋友是这样子，
A lot
当
of
有一
people are
天
like
你自
that.
己孤独寂寞到受不
One
了了，
day,
你
when
来
you're
求医
lonely
问药，
and you
看
cannot
心理
stand
医
it,
生，甚至找我
you
这类
may
人来咨
seek
询等
some
等的。其实
doctors
你忘了，
or you
这
can
不
try
正
to
是你
seek
喜
my
欢的一
advice.
种生活方
You've
式吗？
forgotten that that is a
小
lifestyle
月
that
喜
you
欢这写
choose.
的这封信，我觉得他就是这种人，
I think she belongs to
他
such
没有想完全改
personality.
变自己，
She has
他
no
觉得大
thoughts
众
of
是一
changing
个是俗
herself
的，而我又
because
不
she
俗。
feels that
但
the
是，可
average
是他走到
ordinary
现在的时
person
候，他
is
有
not
一天
as
回头
noble
看，
as
说我
her.
到底为什么活着？
And she
我
starts
人
to
生意义
wonder
在
the
哪里？
meaning of
那
life.
我的
What is
出
the
路呢？
purpose of life?
是吧？就开始怀疑人生，
She starts
对
to
不对？
question the meaning of life.
所以他是自我欣赏
So for her,
这种孤
she
独
have
感。
this self.
其实我
uh,
个人也有点这种孤独感，但是我没
Actually,
有
for me,
欣
I
赏
do have some
我孤独
such
是因为我
feelings
胆儿小，
of being lonely.
我觉得
But
别人说的话
I'm
吧，
like
我
that
和他也
because
插不
I'm
上
very
话，
timid.
人家开玩
I
笑
have a
我也
timid
听不懂，
personality.
哎，所以跟不上别人脑子。
所以是不是
And
像
that's
小
because
月这种
I
情形
am lonely
如
because
果
I
他
feel that
一
my
定要
brain
强
doesn't
有
function as
尤
fast
其跟
as
别人处
others.
在一起，兴许更难受，内心。
就从对难不难受角度来说的话，就刻意应付别人是很累的。
啊
Actually, she don't want to please
他等于在
other.
扭曲了自
To
己。
be a crowd
可
pleaser
是
it
孤
can
独
be
的自
very
己正是
tiring.
享受的那种感觉，
But
就享受孤独。
she actually
对呀。
enjoy being
所以他没
lonely.
有求救的意思啊。
So she has no desire to seek help.
忧伤，就是他是不是还是渴望快乐呢？
如果
Is
他
that
快
because
乐
she
了，还
want
麻烦就
happiness?
不是小月了。
No.
你起的这名儿，
If she wants
那太
happiness,
阳
it
和
would
月
not
亮
be
就是一个
Xiaoyue.
阴一个阳，你本身起了个阴性的名字，你又是女的，
You're a
少年
lady
何必？是不是啊？那
and
本
you
来
have
就是
a
阴
more
到家
yin
了，
name.
就是这种
You
个
just
性哈。
combined
哪怕
two.
今天起了一个代号给我，可是你起了叫小月，为什么不小小太阳呢？
Why is it
当
not
然可以考虑，对不
s-
对？
not
啊，一朵小
Xiao
花
Yue
花可以
represents a small
对
moon?
吧？你起
Why
了
is
这
it
个
not
阴性的
a
名字，
small sun?
再加上你这个个
Because
性
your
的表
name
达
is a little bit
你
yin and
确
moon
实是非常
represent
非
more
常内
yin
向的，
in nature
你
by
而且还
nature.
是喜
So
欢
you are
这种
introvert
孤独
and you
的
actually
感
enjoy to
觉，
be lonely, to
就
be a
是孤独
loner.
一个人的生活方式。
You
这样一家他
enjoy.
孤独到什么程度啊？哈，他长大一定离开父母，因为你是个孤独的人，
But because you're such a
你能
loner,
注
when you
定
grow
你
up, you
就
will leave your
享
parents.
受这份孤独。
And because you want to enjoy this sense of
就是
loneliness.
觉得这个独自一个人在外面的话，我还是觉得很多网友会羡慕他，因为这个孩子还是挺顺利的。
But I
在求
think
职
that
的路
a
上
lot of our
啊
internet
包括上
friends
大
will still
学
be
包括
very
出国
envious
留
of
学
her
包括找工
because
作
she's able
她
to
又
go
找
to
到
a
一个
foreign
国外的
land.
高
She got
薪的
high
这样
paying
的一个
jobs,
工作
work in
应该算是挺
overseas,
顺
work
利
in a
的
good
了
company.
啊。所以
That's the
如果
dream
我们
of
小月
many.
换一种思路，换一种念头
So
想，
maybe we should
诶
change our
这既
perspective
然
to
我
look
也
at
跟
this.
大家那么合群，与其别扭着自己，那
So
我就
since you
享
know
受自
that
己
you are
独
more
自
of an
一个人吧，
individualistic person,
但是就不要
rather
忧
try
伤，
to
就快乐
change
的独
yourself
自一个人
to
的
fit
生活。
others, why
就
not
是
learn to be
很多
happy
单
to be a
身
loner?
也能够做一个快
So
乐
even
的
if
单
you
身。
choose to be alone, not be married, you want
那
to
我
be
就
a
开始问
happy
你了
loner.
哈，咱做个
We have done some meant we
就是说我自己吧。
let's say myself.
其实你看，其实我们从有了这个直播这件事
After
之后
we have such live stream,
就变成你的工作
it becomes the workload has becomes much heavier, and the cultivation aspects reduces, the cultivation time reduces. Sometimes, after working for so long hours, what I look forward to is going back to my home, take a hot shower, and then just be relaxed, completely relaxed. Because there's no one in the house. And in fact, including the people that you love is not there. Nobody watching you what you're doing. And you completely relax your body, relax your mental states. You can do anything that you want. So that's an extreme relaxation. And that's when you're at that state, you'll be able to recharge. So that is your way of relaxations. That's your way to be recharged. If you want, after the hot shower, you may want to have some hot tea or hot coffee, or listen to some music. For some ladies, they want to put a face mask, or even listen to some pleasing music. Some may say that they want to do their cultivations. You want to do what you like. That is very noble and peaceful. So all these are actually recharging, including going to the gym, including going a walk in the wood, including practicing energy bagua. You just want to be alone. If there are more than one person, it's not. What about you? So I'm just sharing with you myself. Yes, I really enjoy what Masters described when you're alone. So yeah, when nobody looks at you, you can even put your legs up on the table. Or even you can walk and you can sit in whatever positions that you like. There is no need to be prim and proper. Why? Because when you're with others, you have concern, and when you're concerned about whether you are prim and proper, whether you sit properly, but because of this, you will be tense. And when you are tense, how can you be relaxed? So when you are tense in itself is tiring. Because from a mental state, you are also tense. So it's very draining on your energy. So imagine that when you return home, you can be yourself, you can be free, you can sing any songs that you want. But when there are more people, you can't even be yourself. You can't even be fully relaxed.
干啥的时候，你哼着邓丽君的歌，咋是这么像邓丽君？比邓丽君的还好听，对不对？等过年的时候一唱是说，嗨，还不如我大爷唱的好听，对不对？
就怕在那个
因为紧张了嘛。
真的。
Because you have no sense of, you don't feel these tensions. Do you agree, me, 20? Have you done it before? Yes, I always sing song at home when no one's there. So you just have a bottle of beer and sing along? Yes, when I'm alone by myself, I like to do things I enjoy. So importantly, these are all relaxations. You want to look at the quality. So what happens when you're relaxed? Firstly, when you're relaxed, you let go of all the tiredness that you have accumulated in the last 2 days. You let go of them. And you get yourself recharged with energy that's ready to face tomorrow. So is that our loneliness actions? No. So no matter how much your husband loves you, if he's before you, are you more controlled? Yes. Are you dare to shout out loud? Probably not. You will be very mindful what you speak. And you don't even dare to play the music that you love. Actually, you find that after you get married, you try to play the music that you like. Your husband may say, "Why do you play this music? Can you play something nicer?" Because once you have other people present, you have concern for other people's feeling, you can't be true to yourself. So when you are by yourself, you are relaxed, you are at ease. When you are too much of that, you are a person that's very individualistic. So Xiao Yue wrote me these letters. I want to see the question that she has for me. Actually, does she want guidance? Actually, does she really need guidance? Maybe she enjoys loneliness. She is like a king. She's home. She walked alone in the moonlight. She enjoyed meditation by herself. She enjoyed the feeling of alone. And this is the king, like a king. The king state, mental state. It is like the emperor or the king. But you want to have the heart of the king as well, because you want to control everyone. You don't like human, you don't like to mingle in the social settings. So from a king, you were near death. Why? Because what do we mean by that? Because you are so lonely that you lack people around you. So you do not want to get to that stage, that you cannot endure anything. You don't want to get to the extreme. No. Because that is like approaching death or the negative parts. So you want to be a loner, but you want to be a loner who can embrace others. Your loneliness can encompass all. So when you enjoy loneliness, and when your loneliness allows you to recharge, you want to be able to step out and embrace others as well. I'm sure Xiao Yue understood what Master says. So remember, if you want to enjoy loneliness, do not complain about loneliness. I just want to remind you personally, I feel that we, in the human world, we are social animals. We need communities. Whether you enjoy being lonely or not, let me ask you, when you move house, do you want to move alone? No, you can't move alone. You need people to help you. You need your community. So after you move house, people will will come together and share interactions. That is happiness. When you have friends to share happiness, that is also happiness. When you have no friends, you can't move much. My dad say, you have another friends, you have another path opens up for you. So in order for us to have a better path in life, we want to make more friends. We want to be broad-minded. We want to be open-minded. So we want to watch. We don't want to get to the extreme. I think Xiao Yue is probably a lady. To be able to work in a foreign country and to have a high-paying jobs, you should try to make more friends in the foreign land. So we have a presents for her. Yes, I gave her something with energy. The red color. This is Medicine Buddha's t-shirts.
让小月月穿上之后，
So, Xiaoyue, when you wear
药师
this,
佛的阳光的
you will
能量
have the
让你
radiance
的
of
脸上
medicine
露出阳光的
Buddhas,
灿烂哈。
and you'll be
对。
full of
那
radiance.
小月这个名字其实挺美的，
Actually,
我都
Xiaoyue
喜
is a
欢月
good
亮
name.
哈
I like
但
the
是我
moon.
喜欢的月亮
But the
不是
moon
孤独
that
的
I
清
like
高，
do not light
而是
the lonely
温
moon.
暖的柔
I
和的
like
柔
the
美的
moon
月光。
that
我
can
经常沐浴在
radiate
月光
with
下哈，我
warmth
特别经常是
energy.
仰着头仰望那个月
So
光
when I
带
look
我
at
的
the
那种
moon,
舒
I
适的
feel
沐浴
very
的感觉，
comfortable
所以
and
那不是
very
孤独，
comforting.
而是温柔，
It
对不
is
对？
not
所以把这种孤独
lonely,
的感觉
but
改
it is
一下哈。
gentleness. So
对，
you want to
像老
just
子所
change
说，
a little bit
像
of
水
your
一样润
loneliness.
万物哈，
Is
而
that you
利
want to
苍
be
生。
like
这
water
样的
that
音乐之
can
美，
help
这才是
to
真
be
正
as
的美哈，
beautiful
叫
as
做
the
大
water
美啊。所以呢，希望小
that
月
can
哈
embrace
能
all.
变成那个温柔
So
的
I hope
美
that
美的圆月。
Xiaoyue, you can be that beautiful full moon.
好，接下来是我们的网友小福，他
And the
是
next one
特别
is
想向师父请教的是
Xiaofu.
我能走出沙漠吗？哇，
Xiaofu
这个
asking Master
这
whether
些
he
网
can
友们也
step
真的
out
是非常的
of
重
the
量级
desert.
哈，看来还是内心比较的干涸。
So I think the
慈
heart
悲
is a
尊贵
bit
的师父很
dried.
好，看到师父的
Hello,
提问，
compassionate
你
and
快乐吗？
honorable
我在
Master.
心中回答，
Seeing Master's
很多
questions, 'Are
年
you
来我
happy?'
一直不
I
快乐。从小到
answered
大，
in my
我一
heart,
直
I have been
追求着
unhappy for
幸
many
福，
years.
向往着快乐。
From
快
childhood to
乐的感觉
adulthood,
在
I've
我
been
的人
pursuing
生中
happiness
却那么
and
的
longing
稀
for
有罕见。
happiness. But the
回
feeling
想
of
起童
happiness
年的
is so
我，
rare
是一
and
个
rare in
聪
my
明伶
life.
俐、沉积严
Looking
厉、
back on
人
my
见人
childhood,
爱、孤
I
苦与
was
伴
a
陪伴的
happy
小
I
孩。
was a happy
可
kid who
大
was
概10
smart
岁之
and
后，
excellent
快乐的
grades
时刻
and
越
loved
来
by
越少，
everyone and
而
loved
紧随
friends.
其后的往
But
往是
after
长期
about
的
10
不
years
顺
old,
利、打
there are
击、
fewer and
痛苦、
fewer
压
happy
抑、
moments,
无处诉
followed
说
by
的
long-term
从
unsatisfactory
初
shock,
中到
pain,
大学期间，
depressions,
是我
and
人
fear
生
that
中
I've
精
nowhere
神
to
最
tell.
黑暗的时期。
And
我
the
是单
periods
亲
from
家庭，
junior high school to
来自
college
母
was the
亲的高
darkest
标
periods
准
of my
和严
life.
苛的教育，
I'm
令我
from
无
a
法
single
反
parents'
省，
family,
学业
and the
的压
high
力和
standards
与
and
日
strict
俱增。
educations from my
从
mother
12岁起，
made me
只要
unable
压
to
力过大，
breathe,
我就爆
and the
发忧
pressure
郁
of
症，
my study
感觉
increased day
自
by
己
day.
头顶有一
From the
片
age of
沉甸
12,
甸的乌云，
whenever
整个世
the
界都
pressure
是
was
灰
too
蒙
great,
蒙的，
I would break
心
out of
中还有
depressions
无
and
比
feel
的
that
罪
there's
恶
a
感，
patch
忍
on the
不进
top of
的
my
内心。
head. There are
我拼
heavy
尽
dark
全力
clouds,
考上了
and the
全省
world
最
is
好的
grey,
高中，
and
本以
there's
为
still
可
an
以摆脱沉
incomparable
重的
sense of
经济
guilt
压
and
力，
endless
哪知
emptiness in
道
my
进
heart.
高中，面临
I
的是
tried
比
my
读
best to
书
get into
还
the
要
best
繁
high
重
school in
多
the
少倍的
province.
学业。
I
我
thought
觉
if
得
I
自
could
己的
get
身
rid
体
of the
被掏
heavy
空，一
mental
点劲都
pressure,
使不出来。
but I didn't
我
know
拖着疲
that
惫
when
的
I
心
entered
情，
high school, I
每
was
天
faced
光
with
是起
studies that
床
were
就
many
背
times
了
heavier
9年
than
2
junior
分
high
之
school.
一，勉
I
强支
felt
撑着
that
学
my
业，
body
浑
was
浑
hollowed
噩噩
out.
地看手机，
I
打
can't
发
exert
时
any
间，
strength.
数着日
I
子
dragged
盼
my
来了高
exhausted
中毕
body
业，
and
又
took
数
a lot
着
of
日
effort
子
to get
盼
up
来了
every
大
day.
学毕业。
After I
大
graduated
学毕
from
业之后，
college,
我找到了
um,
心仪的
I
工
found
作，
a job
遇
that I
到了能
wanted.
聆听我心
I
事
met
的朋
friends
友，
who
过
listened
上
to
了
my
一段
thoughts
没心没
and
肺的
live a
快乐日子。
happy life.
可惜
But
好景不
it's a
长，因
pity
为
that
我
the
身
good
体
time
能量
didn't
十
last
分
long
不足，越来越
because
撑不
my
起工
physical
作的
energy
强
was
度。
really
我开始
insufficient.
疲惫不
I
堪，
couldn't
产
bear the
生负面情
intensity
绪，
of work
因为很小的事
I
情
began
抱
to be
怨，最
exhausted
后身体
and I
彻底
start
垮
to
掉，
have negative
因病离
emotions.
职回家休
I
养。
complained even
因为
about the
身体
smallest
长期的
matter,
透支，
and
我的能
finally
量
my
十分
body
匮乏，
completely
承受力
collapsed.
差，每一
And
点
I
细小的
resigned
变
due
化，
to
例
illness
如
and
阴
went
郁
home
的
to
天气，
recuperate.
路人大声的喧
Because of
哗，
the
卡
long-term
卡的声
overdraft of my
音，
body,
播放器里
my
吵闹的
energy is
舞
very
曲，装
lacking. and my tolerance is very poor. Every small change, like gloomy weather or loud noise from passerby and loud music, or even the ground dog poo that can be seen everywhere, will cause me to have this physical and mental sadness. The struggle with the small details every day make me physically and mentally exhausted. And I still can't be happy in a seemingly peaceful life. And I start to think, is this life I want? I don't think so. I want to be a healthy and happy person. I also want to be a compassionate person. But after so many years, my body is still far from the true good health. I followed Master's live broadcasts to study and practice, and I realized that there are more invisible factors behind the disease, like merits and karma. That made me feel that if I don't work hard, there must be no way out. But I don't know when I can achieve the desired result if I work hard. I hope for a life with a clear goal every step of the way, but I can't bear the hope and loss of the goal that's far away. I don't care about anything, and I feel that every day is very unsteady, and I feel that my body is hanging in mid-air and facing the road ahead. I can't see, I can't touch, but I'm lost. When something happy happens to me, I dare not be happy. I always feel that I'm not worthy. My reaction is first to suppress the instinct of happiness, and my heart turns rapidly. After happiness is pain, then I better take it easy. I'd rather be less happy than suffer from more pain. And therefore the whole person is a very numbed state, not daring to pursue for anything, but silently endure everything in life that in the unchanging day. So I saw my face in the mirror like an iceberg with no expressions. I wanted to love, to give, to benefit others. My heart is as dry as a desert. I close my eyes and the pictures appear in my mind. A traveler been walking in the desert for many years with big bags in his back, travel stained with chipped lips, expressionless face, and depressed and only on his way, does not know what is hunger, what is thirst. I feel that the desert traveler is myself. And I want to ask Master, how can I do so that I can step out of it? That is my thoughts about Master's questions. I hope that I was very surprised to hear Masters say that I would also be sad. I hope that all will be able to walk with happiness and accomplish by happiness. Thank you, Master. So for her, she is from a single parent family, and she suffered academic pressure from young, and she has depression's outbreak at a very young age. And I think after that, her body becomes weaker and weaker, and she has to endure to secondary schools and even through to college and universities. So she has been in that mental state. She described herself that she can't even enjoy happiness because she's fearful that after happiness, she'll have to endure more pain. I feel that she has some genetic genes that's pertaining to depression because the mom probably are divorced, so maybe that's in the genes. Actually, all parents try their best to want the kids to study hard because knowledge is energy and power. Because they find that it's only when you study until a certain level, you will present more path for you. You will open more path. Education will open more path for you. Imagine that today you are in a more developed country. If you do not have a university degrees, you will find that it's difficult to look for a job. Actually, even if you are a college graduate, you may have difficulty to look for jobs. It can be quite tough. So what if you don't even study well? If it's not because the parents give them pressure to kids, do you think you will study? Is that a nature? What is her name? Xiaofu herself, maybe her body is not too strong, but she feel a lot of pressure, she persisted. So I think the push factor is too strong. The push from the mom is too strong.
对呀，但是最重要的，他那个精神状态当中哈，他可能就一直，他特别确定的觉得，就是妈妈逼着我在读。
But maybe in her mental stage, she feels it's a mom that forced her to study.
所以我这睡觉不是说少于8个小时我就受不了， 有些因为身体弱就是这样，吃的又不够好，但是考试这个压力又来了。
Maybe she don't have enough food,
读的时候
or she lack the energy.
受不了了，那么又没有，尤其是单亲家庭
Especially she's
她没
from
有
a
一个
single
像我
parents
多一个爸爸
family.
来
There's no
安慰
father
她几句
figures that
或
help
者
to
让她心里
comfort
放
her
松一下，
or
她
help
至
her
少
to
体内
relax.
缺少了一些这些东西，
She lacks
就变
that.
成她和妈妈之间
And that's why her
说
relationship
出来
with
的
the
话
mom,
就没
the
有一
words
个中间
between,
人有一个调节
there's no
和
one
缓解
that
这种冲
mediates
击的这么一个缓
mediate
解带，
the
就没有
the
这个东西，
tensions.
所以中间少了弹性，
So
就
they
变成
lack
必然
this
你必须这样做。
they lack
所以
this
有些父母
resistance
就是怕孩子落后了嘛，
because
有
some
的时候
parents they want to
觉得
make
妈妈
sure
并没
that
有
the
错误，
kids will be able to
可
catch
是
up.
小福呢，自己身体本来能量就差
For， Xiaofu, she's already
再
weak
加上
physically.
他没有把妈妈逼迫读书的感觉化为自己努力的本能的感觉，
She
他没
didn't
有转化过
transform
来，
the pressure
所以
from the
一直就是
mom
我在为你
to
读，
propel
如果
her
你
to
不逼我
study
读
on her
我才不
own.
读，他是这样一种思维，所以很勉强，
So
有
that's
一个非
why
常
she
痛
feels
苦的
that studying
念完了
is
大学。
actually like a
等念完
task.
大学之后，
And after
就
she
是他
completed her
他能量
college
就释放完
degrees,
了。就是说，为什么看见了美丽的色彩和阳光之后，我反而觉得有
why
一
is
种
it that after
悲
you
凉
see
的感
beautiful
觉呢？
sunlights and
就是
rays,
这样。
you feel negative, that
其
there's
实他
negative
就是
thoughts?
没有
It's
再
like
多
that.
想一层哈。如果不是妈妈这样逼迫，
Actually,
她
she
如
never
果
think
没有考
deeper.
上大学，
If it's not because
啊，
of the
如果就
pressure
是
that the mom
面
has
对的
given
是
her,
很
she
难
may
找的工
not
作，而
have
且又可能
graduated
是
from
非
college.
常低
She
级
may
别
not
的工
have
作，
the
后
ability
面
to
的
look
生
for
活
to
可
get a
能
good job.
更让
She
她
may
不
end
如
up
意
in
的
a
话，
very low
她
level
是不是
jobs.
那个时候还希望跟妈妈说，你为什么当时不对我严格
She
要
may
求一下，
actually tell
能
the
够让
mom
我
off
考
and say,
上
why
吗？
didn't you force me
有
when
时
I
候我
was
们的
young
觉悟
so that
哈，
I can
有
push
时候当我们
myself
觉悟的时候，也
further?
正是我们失去最好的时候。
Because a
比
lot
如
of
说父母
time when
亲
we gain
都离
realizations,
开了
we
他了，
already
他
lose
可能就
the
觉悟
best
了，
part.
但是觉悟了之后，那么该爱的也不再爱了，就失
Because
去
by
了
the time when you gain
知
realizations
道吗？
or when you're
所以
awakened,
像古人
the
说哈，
person that
失
loves
去
you the
方觉
most
珍贵哈，
是，
will
那
no
拥
longer
有
be
总觉
there.
烦恼，这你总说我，
对。
就是这样。
对，我还记得，我的母亲哈，就是
嗯，
他们那一辈
I
人，
remember
就是
my
那个
mom,
年代大
her
学生不多的，
generations, there are
然
not
后就
many
是
people
跟
who
她
have
同龄的一位，
universities
我们叫
degrees.
大姨的，
We
就
have
是她就
someone
说，
that we
她
call
说我特
Da
别
Yi,
感
which
谢我
is
父
like
亲
the
打了
eldest
我一巴
aunt.
掌。
嗯，
哎呀，我们都听了吓一跳，怎么了？她说那个时候也是要高考的时候嘛，
They have
她也会觉得
universities
算了，就是
exams.
我们就是普通人家，我们不去上大学，
Actually, they
我
feel
们
that we
就
don't
是
need to
读
go
个一般的学
universities.
校，
We
就
just
是
need,
找
we are
工
just
作
average
更重
families.
要
We
啊，
just
挣
get
钱更
average
重要。
educations.
结果他
We
父
want
亲
to
就是
make
打
money.
了他一巴掌，
So she didn't
他
want
就
to go
当时
studies.
就大
But the
哭啊，他说
father
我从小长大没有
caned
被
her.
父亲这么打
She
过，
was so
他就
shocked
对
because she
我
was
这么
never
凶，
caned by
差
the
点就
dad.
说你是不是我亲爹了哈。但是就是因为父亲这
And
样
that
严
was
厉的
because
一
of
巴
the
掌，
dad was
他
so
就
hard,
逼着他
harsh
去
on
考了
her
大学，后来
and
他考
forced
上
her.
了。
She
那
got
个
to
时候一个大学
universities.
生出来，
And
立刻都
during
是
that time,
啊，
就有
这
工作，
哎就有
when
工
they
作有
have
好工作，有
university
技术干
degrees,
啊，都是
they
去
got
干什么
a
都是一条
job,
大
a
学
good
生去
job.
干，所以他就享受到了非常
So
好
she
的福利
enjoyed
了。
very
对，
good
后来等他自己
benefits.
长大成家了以
So
后，
when
他
she
说：“ 哎
got
呀，
her
我
own
这一辈子
families,
最感谢的
she
就是
said
我
that
爸
the
爸打
person
我的
that
那一
I
巴掌。”
when the
他
person
说
that I'm
如
most
果
grateful
爸爸
was
不
my
打我
dad
这一巴掌，我可能
because
就
my
是个普
dad
通的工人。
beat me because of him
可
beat
是我
me.
小
That's why it
福
propelled
哈，
me to
那
study.
么他的这个情况呢，第一个证明他的身体确实不太好，
But I think from
啊，
these
第二个呢，
stories,
他的
you
精神
know
哈
that
压
she's
力非常
physically
大。
she's not
我觉得我
strong.
综合判断一
And
下，
my over
因为他只
judgment
是给我
about
们写了
her
这封信
because she
哈，
just wrote
我们
this
在这么
letter.
一个有限的这个内
So
容
we
上来
have
判
limited
断它，其
content
实也
to
不容
try
易。
to make
所以光从这个信
judgment.
件的内容
So
上来
from the
判断来
contents
说
of the
呢，
letter,
我觉得小福其实是
I
没有看到人
think
生的方
that
向，
Xiaofu didn't
有那个
have
沙
a
漠的
life
想象，
directions.
正是他精神中的一
And
种
she think about the
枯
deserts.
萎。
And the desert is in fact a manifestation of what she has in her heart, or in her mind, because she didn't pursue, she didn't have a very clear goal to pursue. Because if you have a clear directions in life, you will have this inner energy. If you don't have that, you will lose all the energy. Even if you see something beautiful, you will still be troubled. Even if you experience happiness, you cannot sense the happiness, and you start to become suspicious of everything. What does that mean? Because, Xiaofu, you have not gained the recognitions from the work that you present. And especially when she's sick and she needs to recuperate. So she did not see the green oasis, the happiness and joy of life, because she kept thinking about the negative aspect, and all she sees is the deserts. I think that people who have such life, you will find that life will be very tough for her. If you work hard, the first time you gain the salaries, you buy a present for your mom, or you buy yourself a nice dress, you realize that you are very capable. You just have this imaginary sickness. You imagine that you have difficulties to look for jobs. You just imagine that your leg is weak. And what happens? It becomes reality. You just imagine that you're a sick person, and then you become a sick person. And that's because you lack the motivations in life, and because you lack the directions in life. You have understood what I said, and you start to look for a job, you start to go back to work, and treat your mom well. That is your duty. If you really do that and treat that as your own responsibilities, you will recover. You are not sick. It's all imaginary. That is my advice to you, and that's my view. Thank you, Master. So we have a present for Xiaofu. She likes deserts and green oasis. I'm going to give her a camel. This is what we made. This is ceramics, and with this golden grains, I hope that your future, you will be able to appreciate oasis, and you will have a worldview, and you will have happiness. Actually, deep in the thoughts, deep in the hearts. Kunti, what do you want to say? Actually, I hear of these few stories. I feel that everyone that shares, it's very different. The emotions is very different. How the person enter into that negative emotional state. I hope that Masters can give us some further guidance so that we'll be able to better control our emotions. Actually, I feel that now we are here, we are learned about the emotions and the mental states. I think this is more important than depressions, because we learn to observe our emotions, our mood swing. At the beginning, we have Sang-Yi and Xiang-Ke, who tries to let us understand the scientific research about our brains, and let us understand how the brain works. I think it's important for us to learn and manage our emotions fluctuations. And when we have a mood swing, we are very clear. For people who like to get angry, you must watch. When you hear something that you're not happy, or contents, or actions, see the actions, you have emotions, and you try to look at it from, and when you observe that you have these emotions, this moment, it is just like you have this divine eyes observing yourself as a third party, and your indifference. So watch it. You have these emotions, you try to observe, and you try to calm your own emotions. How do you do that? The first steps is to observe the fluctuations and the movements and the change in your emotions. So once you're listening to me now, you start to have this ability. You listen to my talk today, and after that, I want you to observe.
情绪已经产生了。
You have emotions the moment so observe the emotion.
那么第二个层次
Secondly,
要学会让自己
is
消
that
火。
you must learn
我现在说情绪不光是怒气，不光是暴躁，情绪变成
to
忧郁了。
tame
说看得美的
the
不是美，
anger
看山不是
or the
山，看水不是
emotions.
水，对不对？看得美的根本不叫美，那叫厌恶。这又是一种负面的叫
So
忧
when you
郁
see
的
something
情绪，
beautiful, you
自
treat
闭
it
的
as
情绪，
negative.
知道吗？
That
这
is
都
a
是情绪来了。
That is also a
当
type
我
of
在这个时候
emotions.
觉得明明我吃的挺好，弄得挺饱，而且没有病，没有
Maybe you
呆
feel
的，
that at this
明明
stage you
能
are
量
actually
充足，
quite
我
good,
怎
you
么
have
听
full
人
of
讲一个
energy.
悲伤的故事，
But
我
why
立
is it
刻
after
觉得
listening
人
to
生
a
失去
sad
光彩的感
stories
觉，
from
原来立
others,
刻
you
无
just
神。
lose the
我们的
beauty
心
of
立刻
life?
就觉察到，
The
情
moment
绪
you
来
want to
了，
observe yourself, you have that
忧郁的
emotions.
情绪来了，
Oh, the
要提
emotion is
醒
here.
自己，
You want to
发现自
remind
己，
yourself.
怎么办呢？还要对峙它。
And what must you
怎
do?
么对峙
Not
呢？
only you want to observe
比
it,
如说
you
各
want to
国人、各种
identify
年
it,
龄层的
you
人
must
都使用不
try
同的
to
方法，
manage
对不
it.
对？
So
所以
different
比如
age
说我
group
们
will have
火
different
爆的
way
情
to
绪来的
manage
时
it.
候呢，
When you
我
observe
们
the
一定要觉
emotions
得
approaching
看着有
or
绿色
arising,
的、绿色的，
you
或
want
者
to
水
see
的东
some
西，可能
greens,
河边、
or you
海
want to
边
see some
绿草
water,
地，
or you
你
want to
在那看
see
一看、玩一
some
玩。你
rivers,
比如在草上坐一坐，对不对？
or
摸摸
even you
小草
take
聊
a
聊天
you
儿，
sit
啊，
around on
河
the
边坐一坐，
or you sit
呼
by
吸一下
the
河边
river,
水边的那种
you
美
just
好的那种
enjoy.
多了那种氧气的这个
You
能
want to
量的这个
have
气息之
more.
后，你的心情立刻改变，因为这个环境可以
You
改
want the
变心境的，
environment to be more
至少是可
pleasant,
以影响
and it
心
will
境的，对不
affect
对？
your
就是
emotions.
这样子，所以先用方法
So
来
you
进
want to
行
have
调
method
整自己的情
to
绪的
adjust your
这种叫
emotions,
波动感。
to observe
那
that and
到了要这
to
样子，
move your
那
to
忧郁感呢？
address the
比如说找
fluctuations.
些笑话啊，
Maybe you want to
啊，
look
哼
for
一个
some
自己想
jokes,
象中、印象之中，哪一首歌让自己快
or
乐？
you know which
现在有
songs
手
you
机
like
对
the
不对？立
best,
刻
and
弹
you
这首
listen to
歌。
those songs.
你喜欢的歌哈，最好存在你手机里头。
The songs that you
每次
like,
找
try
歌
to
曲
save
立
it
刻
in
找到你
your
最喜欢那
phone
首歌，
so
就
that the
放歌
moment you
听
want
一
to look
听，
for it,
是
you
没人
can
还可
listen
以
to
跟
it.
着歌跳个舞，
And
舞
maybe
动
you
两
can
下
even
子，
dance with
哎，
it.
立刻忧郁的
And
情绪
emo
就走了，
immediately
就消
that
失了。
negative
要
emotions
学
will
会发现，
disappears.
还要学会调整，
And so you want to learn
还甚至
how
是
to
说
identify,
这个还不
and
行，
you
尤
must
其
learn
怒
to
火真的
manage.
上来了之后，说他骂我，所以我
Say
就
for
要打
example,
他。
the
这
person
个时候
scold
还
you,
要有另外一个东西可以
so
控制
that's
情绪，
another
叫做
thing.
因果。
And you can use
他
it.
骂你，你打他，
It is
骂你不犯
karma,
法，但是
cause
打
and
人是犯
effect.
法，对
If
不对？
he
那打死
scold
人
you,
可你
you
可能
beat
会
him,
被枪毙的，
what's going to
对不
happen?
对？你
You
会
can
受到
cause
这
more
个
trouble.
牢狱之灾的惩罚，
If
甚
you
至是被
kill
杀
the
头。
person
哎，
or you
所以
harm
懂
the
得因果
person,
的时候呢，
you may be
就学
jailed.
会更懂得了说，哦，原来恶果是这么强
So
大
you
的。
know that wow,
但是我命都
the
没了，
cause and effect, the
那
effect
怎么
is so
办呢？
serious.
哎，所以要学会调整
So
自己
you
的
learn
情绪，
how to
让
adjust your
情绪
emotions
回归于平静，
and you try to
啊，
remain
回归
calm,
清净之道。
be pure, have this attain a level of purity in the
我
mind.
们禅学
So in
和佛门
meditations, in Buddhism,
其实从根本上正是研究这个问
fundamentally
题。
there is the studies.
释迦牟尼佛
Sakyamuni
他
Buddha,
去修行
he went
和去传
to
法，给人
cultivate
讲课，
and he went to
修
propagate
的
the
是什么？
Dharma.
讲的
What
是
is
什
it
么呢？
that he's teaching? What is this
就
Buddha
是
teaching?
对抗和消灭烦恼，
It is how
是这样
to
的。
get rid of
它和中国
troubles.
道教的修仙还不同，
It
是
is
吧？
different
所以有一
from the
天我
Taoisms
长上翱翔的翅膀，
because the
像
Taoism
大
in
鸟一
Taoism
样
what you want to
去
achieve
云
is
游
like
世界，
the
去
divine
到天
deities
宫住一住，
that
与
you
天
can
地日
live
月
and
齐寿，
fly to
是
the
吧？
heavenly
这是
world.
道教的最高的一种
That
追
is
求，
the high spiritual level.
而佛学
But
中的这个
In
他追求
Buddhism,
的那个内容
the
是什么
pursuit
呢？
is different.
就是灭烦恼，
The content
而不
is
追
you
求绝对的
want to
长
get
寿啊、
rid
云游
of
世界呀、
troubles,
啊，
get
相
rid
信
of
真主啊
worries.
等等的不一样。
No, it's
但
different
相信
from
自己，
believe
什
in
么
a
叫相信
God
自己呢？
or have
是
a unified God.
因为
No,
人
it's
有人的
different
共性嘛，
because
对不对？人
human
有人的
beings
共
are
性，
quite similar in certain
没有
aspects.
几个人讨厌汽车，
Anyone
对不
don't
对？
like
最终
car?
都是
No.
买车，
Everyone
从害
like
怕
car.
车，到最后不得已不买车，最后又喜欢车。
So from
对不
people
对？
who don't like
很多女
car,
人都喜欢
but
穿
they
裙
needed
子
to all
啊，
have
差
a
不多
car,
多数女人
they
都喜
buy
欢穿
car.
裙子，就是这人类是有人类的共性的。
So there are
所以
certain
烦恼哈，人和人的长相略有不同，
communal aspect
烦恼
of the
基本
human
相似。
beings. because of our similarities in looks, we have some similarities in thoughts. So in Bodhidharma, what's the source of our trouble? And how should we deal with it? So I remember there is a Bodhidharma who is a great master. I think about 1,700 years ago, he went from India to China to propagate Buddhism. He traveled a lot, and he is a he has a lot of power. And after a few years, he went to central China, which is today's the Henan province. There is this mountain, Songshan Mountains. It is the middle mountain, great mountain of China. So he went to Songshan and he found a cave, and he meditated in that cave. So there is this cave is actually natural, and now the cave is called Bodhidharma Cave. During winter, it was quite cold. There was actually snowing. He was meditating for many days. He entered into a meditative state. So there's another monk. Heard about him, heard about this great master, Bodhidharma, that comes here to meditate. Because during that time, not many people spread the Bodhidharma, so his name is Huike. So he came and he waited in the snow all night, wanting to learn the Bodhidharma from Bodhidharma. And after more than 3 days, he finally awaited this moment that Bodhidharma opened his eyes slightly. So he knew at the outside of the cave, and he said, "Do you have a question? Why are you looking for me? Do you have problems?" We just try to remember the main contents. And you are kneeling for 3 days. Is there a reason why you're looking for me? He said, "Master, my heart is not at peace. I beg my teacher for peace." I just want to add, before that, he didn't want the conversation between them is that he wanted to learn Buddhism. But Bodhidharma says that I do not accept disciples. So they have some pre-interactions before that. So Huike was also a very, I think he even cut, Huike even chopped off one of his arms and present to Bodhidharma. So he chopped off, Huike chopped off his arms and present to Bodhidharma and say, "This is the prize I have for you. This is the present I have for you." Because he shows his sincerity to seek Bodhidharma. And Bodhidharma asked Huike, "What is it that you want to seek?" And he said, "My heart is not at peace. I have a lot of troubles. I couldn't sleep well. I find that there's no pursuit in life. I find that life is meaningless. It's impossible for me to continue living." And Bodhidharma said, "This is just a small matter. So what should I do? You give me your heart. I will help you to bring that to peaceful. What is heart? It is consciousness in Chinese. So heart is consciousness. It is not literally the heart, the physical heart that's in our heart. So what is this consciousness? Is this consciousness from the physical heart or is it from the brain? I think it's from our legs. I'm not sure where it's from. Because you cannot. How do you know that it's not the heart? But we are just using this term. And I find that the West people also use the word heart. You broke my heart, as in. So what is heart? It is a mental state of hurt as well. It is just a way of descriptions. So Huike can say, my heart is not at peace. I beg teachers, please help me to find peace in my heart. And Bodhidharma said, sure, bring your heart to me. I will make it peaceful. And this moment, Huike shouted, it's impossible to find my heart. If you don't even have a heart, so where do you not find the peace? So you cannot find the heart? And Bodhidharma says that I am actually helped you to place your heart at a peaceful spot. So you say that you can't find the heart. The heart is already at the spot, peaceful spot. What is it? So it is actually a consciousness state. There's this consciousness that you are not. You have afflictions. So let me think deeper. So what exactly is my heart is peaceful or not? I ever say a story. Let's see if there's some similarities with this. Remember I ever said before, there's this family, there are two sons, and the elder son studied hard, and he got his university's degree. The second son is a very rebellious kid and caused a lot of troubles to the parents. So the second son cheated some money from the dad and left the house. So the dad was so angry. So this is a Chinese story. So he lived at the second level. The gas. So the gas tank is quite heavy. He carries the gas tank. So the old man, he bought 2 gas tanks and said, I'm so tired to lift this gas tank. And this son, he ran away. It's so difficult for me to make money. But the elder son, he completed his examinations, university examinations. There's no result yet. So when he carried the tanks to take the steps, he felt very tired. When he was in this state, the wife said, let me tell you a good news. Our elder son got into Beijing, Tsinghua universities. That's the top universities in China. And suddenly, the father forgotten about the weight of the gas tank. He was able to climb all the way up 5 stories. And the wife said, wow, how do you manage to carry this 2 gas tank up, this heavy gas tank up? You must be tired. No, I'm not tired already. So is the tiredness related to your heart? Your heart? Why is it that you are still carrying the same gas tank? But the moment when you hear the good news, you no longer feel the weight of the gas tanks because your consciousness is affecting your thoughts. So when the second son cheat the dad's money, rebellious kids left homes, and that's why when the dad heard about this, when the dad carries the 2 gas tanks, he felt the weight. He felt the weight of the gas tank. So when it's combined, indeed, the gas tank weighed really heavy. So every step that he took was heavy. But the moment when he heard the good news of the elder son, because imagine this is just an ordinary family, and to have someone to get accepted into the top universities in China, it is a good news, because it means that the future of this family will be changed for the better. So suddenly, the 2 heavy gas tanks no longer feel heavy. She suddenly have this booster, there's this burst of energy, and that's why he's able to carry the gas tank all the way up to his house, which is 5 levels up. And he could even sing song immediately. So the sense of happiness just comes immediately. Isn't this like what Bodhidharma told Huike? I help you to place your heart at peace already. So it is just a state of consciousness. Because in your consciousness, if you feel that you are wrong, I've killed 2 persons. I need to go to hell because how can a monk kill another monk? Or I'm just making an examples. Like before he died, he ate a fish. He's not supposed to do that. Or when I don't have enough money, I even steal money from the temple. Those are bad deeds. So the heart is full of trouble because you have this sense of guilt, this strong sense of guilt. But Bodhidharma didn't ask all this content because you have troubles in your heart. That is what Bodhidharma trying to achieve, and that is trying to solve our human troubles. Because you feel a sense of guilt, and that's why you have this pain and suffering. But if you have no sense of guilt, you will not have this emotional baggage. So the more you think about it, the more guilt you have, the more heaviness you feel. We also talk about stories relating to spirit. And we can create the ghost. For example, just now you watch a ghost movie. And in the movie, and that image is like what you see at night. And the path is dimly lit. You can't see very clear the path. And you see images. Actually, in the city, it's very easy for you to see image. Let me ask you, if your wind have some route, and then you have some car that passes by,
艺术品呐，一个书包啊，挂个衣服、衣服架啊，它都会变成影子，一晃就飞走了。
So there are very easy, and when you have cars that passes by, and when they shine the lights, it's very easy that you have some shadows or image that happens in your room when you have that. But if you just watch the movies, the ghost movies, you may feel that there's a ghost. And you feel, why is it there's so many ghosts? Because there are a lot of cars that's moving and passing by the road. So that's why we say that we can also create ghosts, and that's how we frighten ourselves by our own emotional worries. So you have this fear. And sometimes you feel that you should have a sense of sadness. Say, for example, the children, when they see that the neighbor, so if you say if you look at the child, sometimes when they see that the neighbors, the old folks pass away, they will not cry. They just stand there. So they don't have any feelings because they have no relationship with the old folks that pass away. So when later on they have their own relative, the old relative that passed away, they also have no emotions, they don't cry. But the parents may say that you have to cry because he's related to you, he's your grand uncle's. So we have to cry. So you force yourself to cry. So they force the child to cry and say that it is important for you to cry, otherwise people will think that you lack empathy and they will not help you in the future when you need help. So you have to observe that, you have to follow that. But because he's not your own grandfather, you will find it difficult to shed the tears. So you're forced. So the emotion is like this. You have anything to share? Don't know what to say. My understanding is that a lot of time it depends on the teachings that we have, and also what the society, the cultural aspect that affect us or influence us. Yes, that's because of our human community and also the environment that we are in, the cultural aspect. And you have to follow and observe. Say, for example, a couple, they are not very deeply in love and they separate. And when they separate, when they part with one another, they start to think that whether they need to cry to show that they are now separated. Say, for example, they even have their own script. So if I'm going to, if I want to tell him that I want to leave him, do I need to cry to show that? If you feel that you need to, it's more appropriate for you to cry, although you emotionally you don't feel like crying, but you will try to shed the tears as well. And say, oh, I'm so sorry I have to part with you, and you start to cry. It is just like he scripted the whole scenes, the whole parting scenes. And you know that in the parting scenes, you need to have some emotions, and you want to shed some tears. In fact, a lot of women are like that. When they cry, they actually plan it or scheme it. It is not just that you are in a drama clubs. No, you actually try to show that emotions when you try to part with the partner. So it is like
明明我抛弃了对方，孩子说：“你个死不要脸的，你爱上了别人，你给别人送玫瑰花，可是我一个都没得到。你不爱我，就不要追求我。所以老娘今天反了。”
So there's also another extremes that when the woman want to part with the boyfriend, or they have schemed the whole plot, the whole parting scenes, and it's very strong. And they actually put the blame on the guy.
设定天气的时候哈，都要学会借东风，刮大风的把对方就刮得睁不开眼的时候，月有点朦胧的时候。 才去干这一场戏。
They already know, they plan it. They even have to watch the weather to know when's the best time to actually play it out.
所以说哈，就是你的心、你的情志、
So the heart, your consciousness,
是由环境
it is affected
或者是我为什么
by the environment.
当你的对于 心理学的研究达到相当高度的时候
When you have a deeper understanding of psychology, you will realize that your expressions is a way of drama, as a way of playing out.
有很多女研究生是这么认为的，所以说情绪原来是设定的，达摩祖师也是。
Actually, emotion is something that we plan out.
心中的不安，你可以理解为不安是你自己想的，你现在想安就是安。
So your unhappiness is also something that you
立刻250
you plan it as well. You can design it yourself.
还是先把手臂安上吧，更重要。
火腿留下，是不是啊？还有就是我们的情绪在。
And also our emotions is something that we nurture. And you find that always in parting, someone will cry. And it depends on what level is your intelligence. And you will know what type of programming to express it. I'm just giving an example. You already programmed it to express the emotions in that scene. The most natural self. But even in your most natural self, you may still make some mistakes. Whatever that we see, the sensory that we see, the thoughts, the eye, everything that we see is not real. What you hear, what you sense, what you feel, they are not the truth. It is not that they don't exist, but it is not 100% real. There is actually a story. All Chinese heard about this. There's this story about the blind touching the elephants. Because the blind cannot see. So when the blind man that touched the tail says that it is like the elephant is like a string. The other blind man touched the legs and said that, well, it is like a pillar. The other person touched different aspect. They say that aspect. So the blind will not be able to see a complete pictures of how the elephant looks like. It will be based on their touch. So from truth, we are like a blind person. Say for example, today, you say that I want to get into that specific universities. When you get there, do you really be happy? Let's talk about emotions. If you really get into that universities, do you really genuinely feel happy? When you get to the universities of your dream, do you truly feel happy? All of you been to universities. You got to your universities of your dreams, were you very happy? Yes, the moment when we got in, I feel very happy. But when you are in there, then very quickly that happiness, the happiness, emotions will be you will have the pressure of schoolwork that overwhelm you. So say, for example, in China, you want to get the top universities, or say you want to go Harvard. If you don't get to Harvard, you will not want. You will be. So imagine that you try for 7 years to get in, and after 7 years, you really get to your dream universities. I'm sure that you will have this hyper secretions when you get your wins or your prize. So you will have this high. And after that, you will have a deficit. But because you don't have such an extreme high, you will not get to an extreme low. You will find that in the lunar date 14th, 15th, 16th of the lunar month, I observe a lot of sea. They will have the tides. The tides will have great shift. And you'll not be able to see the retreat of the sea. At UBC, outside, there's this seashore. I see that there is actually the water. It's actually like about 300 meters away during low tides. But during extreme high tide, it goes so high up, even close to the land. We know that there's this dopamine, these secretions. So say, for example, every day, you have the similar constants. And imagine that you have this high for 3 months. And after that, you may have deficits for 3 years. Once you are hurt, you may have difficulties trying to adjust back. So actually, dopamine, there is actually a fixed capacities. You will not be able to secrete so much. So say, for example, in the morning, you are very intense and very high. So in the afternoon, you will be so tired that you definitely need to rest. Why? Because you have used up your dopamine, the same as the tides. Job is also like that. Today, I'm doing very good. I have a high in my jobs. Tomorrow, you will have a low, reach a new low. Because that's a law of nature. Up and down, the extreme. That's a law of nature. The high tides and low tides is exactly that. We are also like that too, as human beings. I just give you another example. Someone who learned Bodhidharma, he said, I'm a sinner. He has a cancer. And he said, and the moment he came to me and said, I'm a sinned. I've sinned. How do you know you have sinned? I asked. Because there's this great monk from this specific temple say that. So he said that I have killed more people before. Why? He know that. What do you do in this life? And he said, in this life, I become a vegetarian. Because of what he said, I said, you have a lot of sin. And he suddenly got shocked and he said, what sin do I have? I have been a vegetarian for a long time. And I said, well, you say that the monk, the high monk in the temple said that you have sinned. So I'm sure that the reason why he said that, there must be a reason for him to say that. I said, well, actually, when I say that to you, I'm just sharing with you what he said, but I don't believe him. And I said,
你杀生都不知道吗？
don't you know that you kill? No, I don't know.
我请问你的文化程度？
Tell me your education
我
level.
是那个60几年的大学生。
He said, I was my degrees in the
知识
60s.
分子嘛。
So definitely he is a highly educated
我说这
person.
就好办。
I said,
你懂
that's
得什么叫生命吗？
easy. Do you know what's life?
哦，
And he said,
难道我吃的蔬菜萝卜？
so does it mean that the
你
carrots and the
说它是不是
veggies
生
that
命
I
你
ate
吃了没？
have
吃
life?
了。
Do you
不但
eat
吃
them?
了，我还切
Yes.
过。
I've
Well,
eaten the
sometimes it's
vegetables. I also cut the
我
vegetables.
意思
I
是说，
always
你
cut
只是
them.
没有看到
Well,
和人类一
it
样
is
的
just that
红色
you
血
have
液从
not
他身体
seen
流淌
the
出来。
red blood when you cut the
没有看到类
vegetables,
似人
but
类
they are
的
also
人
life
和
forms.
猪牛羊一样被杀的
Because you have
痛苦的
not
惨
seen
叫。
the
这
animals
些蔬
similar
菜
to
都在
human
挣
beings,
扎中
you have
惨
not
叫
heard
着，流
about
着
the
他的血
scream
液，
before they
他的心
cried.
痛肉痛身体
You
痛，
can,
那不是杀生吗？
but when you cut the vegetables,
请问你
isn't
喝
that
水
a
吗？
form of
喝
killing
呀，
a
离不
life?
开水
Do you
的。
drink water?
我
Yes.
一滴水中有无数个
Let
生
me
命，
ask
你
you,
可
are there
以
lives
多
in
理
the
解。
drop of water?
那我以后不喝水
Yes.
了。
So I stopped
说
drinking
你自己
water.
看着办。
And I said, you decide for yourself.
说如果这是算杀生的
Well,
话，
if
我该
that
怎么
is
活呀？
considered killing, how should I live?
我说我没说不让你杀生。
And I say, I never say that you should refrain
请
from
问你杀
killing
生了吗？
lives.
他很有悟性。
Let me ask you,
师傅，
have you killed
我
lives
从没有
before?
杀过生。
Yes, I.
我说那
And
你已
she
经好了。
said, I have not done that. And I
这是我们
said,
两个的对话，
you are now healed.
他真的就减轻了，真的
And
减轻了。
immediately
我觉得多活了10几年呢。
he suddenly
到
gained realizations.
2000年才2020年才去世。
所以他其实内心就一直在纠结这个。
So in his
然后
heart,
对
he has
话
been
的时候
troubled.
癌症晚期哈，
He was
10
actually
几年
in the
12
late
3年之
stage
前的事儿
of cancer. That was like 10, 12 years
好
ago.
玩吧？哎，
And he continued to
一
live.
讲就通畅了。
So suddenly,
还
that
有说，
conversation
今
has
天
helped
如
him
果
to
你
clear
是一
his
个
doubts.
佛弟子，
If
你讲了
you
很多
are
杀
a
生因果、
Buddhist,
杀生因
you
果
keep
鬼咒的
talking
时候
about law of
说你
karma, about killings.
对任何一个会呼吸、会蹬腿儿的东西，你真的不敢杀，你下不去手。
Indeed, you dare not
我
kill
不知道
anything
杀
that's
生好。
moving because you
我
don't
说
want to kill.
一个精神的心理学。
Let me talk about something, a mental state.
当你认为，
If you
尤其是说
feel
你
that,
你和你孩子还有你奶奶砍菜的时候，谁把它当做生命看待的？
let me ask you, when you or your
你没
son
把它
or
当
your
作生命
grandmother, when
看
you
待过的时候，
cut
你有
the
过杀
vegetables,
生的心中的
do you
罪
treat
恶
it
感
as a killing of
你有那
life?
种负罪感吗？
Do
没
if
有
you
吧
have not,
还
do
有
you
理
have
气
this
壮的。
sin?
你看，我给我儿子，我给我孙子炖菜吃。
You even say that, well,
你
look,
看，
I
我
tried
切菜
to
炖
brew
菜，我是
vegetable
慈
soup
悲
for
我
my
不杀生
son,
啊
for my
可是那
grandchildren's.
土豆子在锅里在哭呢。
Well, when you
对不对？
boil
是你没
potatoes,
觉得，
the
你没
potato is
发现，你不
crying
以
in the
为。
pot, in the boiling pot of water.
明白了哈？再举另外一个更厉
So
害
let
的
me
一个例
give
子
you another example, a clearer example.
请问，在
Let
屠
me
宰
ask
场
you, at the
杀猪
slaughterhouse,
杀
when
牛
you
羊的
slaughter the
人以为自己
cow
在犯罪吗？
when you slaughter the pig, do you think they consider themselves
你们
a
想想，
sinner?
其
Think
实
about
很
it.
多这个它是一种职业，
No,
职
actually, they
业屠
treat
夫
it
对不对？
as a
反正你不
job.
干，也
They
有
are
人
a
干。
slaughterer.
我就是用这个来
They are
混钱
butcher.
养家的，
They need that
他没有
to
罪过
raise a
感。
family.
但你反
They
过
have
来
no
想哈，
sense
如果
of
杀猪
guilt.
宰羊的人，
If the person who
他
killed
杀个
the
猪，一
goat
刀下
or
去，这正常。
killed
什
the
么
pig,
扒皮
killed a
一层剔
cow,
骨头的，他就没有罪过感，这是正常的，对不
they
对？
treat it as
但是反过来，
normal
他拿着把
without
杀猪刀
sin.
去杀人的时候，
But if they
和
take the
杀猪的
knife
时
to
候，他的
kill a
心情
human
是一
being,
样的吗？
do you
问题
think their feeling is the same?
一样，
No.
因为
杀人的时候会不会有什么感
Do
觉？
you think the person will feel something when he kill a
自
human
己就
beings
觉得
with
我
the
是在
knife?
犯罪，对不对？
The moment when he does that, he
还
know
有
that
有
he
人
has
在杀
committed
人，
a crime.
就是警察按照法院的
Say, for
判决
example,
说判决
the
这个人是
police
习惯杀人犯，
verdict
杀了32个公
that
民，这个疯
this
子，我们
is
必须枪毙他，对不对？
this person has killed
所
a
以
lot,
这
is a
个法
serial
官判决之
killer,
后立即
and
拉
we
出
should
去
put
枪毙
him,
执行。
we
警察
should,
打的时
we
候
should,
打这个杀人犯的
and
时
he
候
should
有
be
没有负罪
hanged.
感？
Do you think the one who make that
警察有
verdict
解气感，
对，该
has the sense of
但是
guilt because he
行为是
killed the
一样的。
person?
有的人说在私下我收人钱，把一个人给干掉了，为了挣点钱，对不对？
Some may
就
say
职业
that
杀手。
if they are a serial
杀
killer,
猪
they
的
take
人
some
说
money
杀人
and kill
了，
for
因为我和他有
the
仇，
killed the
心里感
killed
觉
a person, identified person? Do you think that point in time when he's performing his task, he have this sense of guilt? No. The killings, the action is the same. But who get to decide which type of killings will come with sin or not? Is that considered a crime or not? It is your own understanding. And that's why I say it's your own consciousness. Usually it's based on your habitual or the common understanding. So that is part. So everything's like what you see, what you feel, all your sensories are not the truth. So we say that everything is stemmed from our heart, stemmed from our consciousness. So sadness is part of a phase in your life, in your daily life. When you get to a depressed state, it is not really depressed state, it's just loneliness. Well, if you have this very negative feelings, you just know that you will have the high when you can get to that stage. So that the reason how you look at your depressed state or when you're low, you must learn to know that when you're low, you're just awaiting the next high. The lower that you feel, the higher you will feel the next time. And once you have that, you want to learn to observe your own emotions. You want to catch you when you are getting into that low emotions. And if you're able to do that, you'll be considered as an awakened one, and you'll be able to get the gist of today's content. You must learn to use your own logic mind to manage your own emotions and actions. If you're able to do that, you are a wise person. And if you are a person that lets emotions guide you, you are like an insane person or a lunatic. So you want to see you want to have this imaginary self that is observing yourself, observing your emotions, and let that imaginary self to manage your emotions, and then you'll be considered as a higher level, spiritual level person. And I hope that you are such a person, such a sage that I described. I want to thank you for your patience. So when you have understood this point, all our depressions, our worries, our sadness, they will disappear. We all live in the pure and radiance and in fairness, and we'll have this balanced emotions. When you understand this, we'll be able to realize and manage our emotions. And we'll be a controller of our own emotions, and we'll be the winner in life. Wishing all no sickness, no disaster, wishing all purity of mind and longevities and happiness. See you next time.
小小的红点里， 人生就此欢喜。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与你相遇。小小的红点里，人生变得神奇。我智慧了，我宽容了，我慈悲了，我自在了。因为有了你，生命变得更坚定，不忧忧无虑。因为有了你，日子不再有哭泣，不再有恐惧。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。小小的红点里，人生就此欢喜。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与你相遇。小小的红点里，人生变得神奇。我智慧了，我宽容了，我慈悲了，我自在了。因为有了你，生命变得更坚定，不忧忧无虑。因为有了你，日子不再有哭泣，不再有 喜，我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与您相遇，小小的红点里，人生变得神奇。我智慧了，我宽容了，我慈悲了，我自在了，因为有了你，了解生命的真理，修行的意义。因为有了你，日子犹如彩虹般，彩虹般美丽。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了，我快乐了，我美丽了，我幸福了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与您相遇，小小的红点里，人生就此欢喜。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，